Hey sinners, welcome to the Sunday show. It's The Line. It is so fun to be here, especially that I get to host with you, Eric, for the first time.
Yeah, Jovan, this is going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to this because I think maybe the only like contact we've had was when Jimmy was forcing us to play 7 Days to Die together. I think that was maybe the last time we spoke, and then that was pretty much it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of having some conversations today and teaming up and seeing where things go. So yeah, this is gonna be great.
Jimmy tends to do this thing where he gets really into specific video games and then makes me play them, and every time I'm like, I'm bored. I'm gonna go play something else while you fight zombies.
Yeah, and I love playing video games. Like whenever Jimmy's like, "Hey, you come play with us," I'm like, "Yeah, okay, this is great." Problem is like with games like 7 Days to Die and other like Pal World or whatever, where the game it's like a long form game over several days or weeks, and you slowly build up your base and develop your technology and stuff like that. Unfortunately, my schedule's too busy to like keep up with that, so I'll put the game down for a couple days and try to come back, and then like everything's like changed and everyone's so far advanced than I am, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm kind of like
that's if
discouraged
you,
to keep playing.
If you put a game down for more than 3 seconds, Jimmy's brother will have not only figured out all the mechanics for the game, but essentially created factories to farm whatever resource is available in that game we're playing.
Everything's automated, and I'm like, I got rock and stick, and everyone's got like assault rifles, and I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm contributing.
Guys, we're a couple of atheists. Oh boy, I almost messed that one up.
Man,
we're a couple of atheists looking for some theists to debate with us today. There's a bunch of different things you can call in about. Is God real? We know the answer is no. Should we be Christians? Can you convince us to do that? Yeah. Are we going to hell? God, I hope so. You can call us if you want to at 720-619-2288. That number again is 720-619-2288. Also, if you want to support the show, make sure you're sending some super chats. Always important to send super chats when there's a new pairing of hosts, because it tells Jimmy that we're better than him. So I always tell people super chats serve one purpose overall. It's to prove like superiority. Hashtag snow never melts. So do us that favor. Send those super chats if you enjoy the show. Call in if you are a theist, a Christian especially, but we'll take on any religion. But especially if you're a Christian, pick up that phone and call us 720-619-2288.
Yeah, especially Christians, because Jovan and I are both in the United States. Christianity is the majority here. Sometimes we get a comment from people like, well, why don't you like contend with Islam more and such? And it's like, well, we're in the US. Islam is like 1% of our population. So the fact that we don't get many of those callers, but also we don't really contend with that all that much over here. Obviously, in other parts of the country, Islam's much more center stage. But yeah, Christians in the audience, like, call us up. Tell us why you believe. My shtick is, I don't think you have a good reason to believe. I certainly don't have a good reason to believe. I don't think you do either. Can you change my mind on that?
I would love my mind changed. Honestly, yeah. I don't think you guys realize how quickly I would turn to religion if somebody proved to me that, like, maybe not Christianity, because that God's a piece of dookie garbage.
Also contradictory.
Like, I could believe in a God existing if you provided me adequate evidence of God's existence.
Yeah.
Or even adequate reasoning to believe in God's existence that doesn't rely on you just making stuff up. But we are getting some calls in, so keep those calls coming, and we'll answer our first couple of calls here soon. So keep those calls coming in. The number again, 720-619-2288. you get to talk to Eric and myself about all of these beautiful stuff. Oh, wait, I'm noticing Arden's messages. Hold on, I'm just trying to verify.
I mean,
what direction?
if our queue's empty, beggars can't be choosers.
We got some coming in. I just always want to. I like to give people a chance to actually pick the phone up, because oftentimes when we take a call right off rip, people won't call in. So you got to give them that opening. By the way, just because I know Jimmy will be upset if I don't plug it, remember linepod.app to access the newsroom app. This is an app Jimmy's been working on that coincides with the Lines has a podcast. So go ahead and go. It just connects with your Patreon. You get to look at news. You get to suggest news articles for us to talk about on the podcast. Join the Patreon so you can enjoy the pod. Well, the podcast is free for everybody now, but the app is for Patreon users. So go do all those fun things while me and Eric take a call from Bridget, who is an atheist from California who wants to defend the usefulness of religious faith for some reason. Bridget, you are on the line with Jovan and Eric. How are you doing today?
Oh.
Hello, Bridget.
Oh, hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can, Bridget, we can. Well, welcome to the show. I assume you're going to tell us about the usefulness of religion. Is that correct?
Not exactly. So I know the topic was the usefulness of religious faith, but I meant faith in the religious context, not specifically towards religion.
I don't know what that means. So can you explain that? Faith in religious context?
Yeah. So you know how, because how someone will say, like, sometimes people say faith and trust like synonymously, but faith, sometimes people try to use it more like, what was that Bible one? The like, faith is the confidence and the
evidence of things unseen.
Yeah, that would be the one. So I'm trying to argue towards that being a useful idea for us as people, or trying to.
Is just blanket faith useful for people? Are you talking religious faith specifically?
No, not religious faith. Just
okay. Then I don't necessarily know that we have much to talk about, though. Then,
yeah,
because like I have faith in the people I know to like make correct decisions in their lives or to do the right thing. But like that's not going to be different than if I have faith in a religious deity or something like that.
Crap. Well, would that be different than trust in this context then? Because I thought faith goes a step
they could be used synonymously.
Yeah. So in everyday language, we do kind of like swap out faith and trust, just kind of haphazard. But in kind of a more disciplined conversation where you like really want to drill down and get into the nitty gritty of a subject, faith and trust are very different things, because you can have things like trust in somebody because of your past experiences with them that show you that that person is trustworthy. You could perhaps have blind trust in somebody, which maybe you can equate that to faith. But in the religious context, and the scripture you're quoting earlier, which is Hebrews 11:1, which says, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." and you're gonna have lots of Christians who like argue over what this actually means, but to me and probably Jovan and most other atheists I've listened to online, faith is just belief without good evidence, or worse yet, belief in spite of the evidence against the thing you're believing in being true. And if you're asking like, okay, is this useful? Is there utility behind this? Well, I guess it depends on what your values and your goals are. If your values and goals are, I want to feel good about things, then sure, faith is great for that. You can feel good about whatever you want. But if your value and goal is truth seeking, then no, faith is antithetical to that. Faith is a very bad thing in that scenario. So I don't know about you, but my priority is truth seeking. So faith to me is very, very useless.
That makes sense. I guess the trouble I find in this scenario is that I also value the truth highly, but for some reason, and I don't know why exactly, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm in America and I grew up around this culture, but there's something about the idea of that, you said Hebrews, what was it, 1:11?
11:1.
11:1.
Yeah.
There's something about that idea of faith in that sense. There's almost something like, you can almost picture it in like a story, almost like this moment where someone like has that like moment of faith in a narrative, in this moment where their faith is rewarded.
It's certainly romanticized in our culture. Yes, I agree. It's lots of people look at that and go, "Oh, how sweet," or "Oh, how touching." But unfortunately, like in the media, where this is kind of like shown to be, a positive thing, the media is there to entertain you. It's kind of there to hit you in the feels. Again, like I'm not out here to feel good about things. I would like to feel good about things. Like it's not a bad thing, but when it comes down to like, truth seeking versus that, I'll take the truth seeking and I'll just say, okay, faith's not very good. But I understand that you're saying like, yeah, it's romanticized. People around you tout it. They appreciate it. They value it, and that's like, I'm not denying any of that. But
Yeah,
really, the question comes down to like, is it useful? Yeah. Good.
A bigger question that I have, Bridget, that just I say in full sincerity, this just feels like a conversation that doesn't really meld with what the show is about. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I suppose that might be fair. It seemed like the topic was religious. I thought it felt religious adjacent, potentially, or religious. Well, I know it felt like it was religious adjacent, if nothing else. But if I'm taking up airtime on the wrong topic, then boot me if I need to. I'm just happy I was willing to say hi and hear your guys' opinions. I consider them valuable. I feel like you guys I feel like I've become slightly a better person just from hearing your guys' opinions, finding the line, I mean. So thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for calling in, Bridget.
Yeah, thanks, Bridget.
All right. Take care.
So with that scripture, Hebrews 11:1, I'm going to step out of my wheelhouse and I'm going to
do it.
I'm going to probably, there's probably going to be a biblical scholar or two out there that's going to be like, shut up, Eric, you know what you're talking about. But Hebrews was written in the 1st century. So I believe slightly before the Second Temple was destroyed in 70 CE, Hebrews was written. Imagine back then what evidence was to people, because the scripture says faith is the substance of things hoped for. So it's very like, okay, hope. But the second part is the evidence of things not seen. Yeah. So basically, you don't see the evidence, but it's there. And what was evidence back then? Like they didn't have like the concept of forensic science or forensic analysis or investigation. What was the primary source of evidence back then? It was your senses. Like they didn't have like microscopes and tools and record keeping like we have today, where we can gather evidence with all kinds of different methods that don't require our direct senses. But back then, probably your primary source of your evidence was what you saw. But if you kind of like swap that out in the scripture, and this is where biblical scholars be like, no, hold on, the language doesn't say that. But when I read this, what that second part is actually saying is the evidence of things not evidenced. Because if it's the evidence of things not seen, and seeing things as your primary source of gathering evidence back in the first century, it's really saying the evidence of things not evidenced. And to me, that's contradictory. It's basically saying that you are seeing things that you're not seeing. You're not it kind of breaks the brain if you kind of look at it that way. And that's exactly what the scripture is basically trying to tell you. It's like, despite what you don't see, despite the lack of evidence, still believe. And that this is some type of a virtue. And when spreading a religion, that's great. It's very, very useful. But when you're truth seeking, not so much. Like, I can't imagine using this type of method for anything else in life.
Well, hopefully our next caller doesn't do that. We'll find out. Let's bring up Sean, who is a theist from California, who wants to tell us God is real. Sean, you are on the air with Jovan and Eric. How are you doing today?
Not too bad. Are you guys?
Oh, always living, never dying.
Yeah, I'm doing well.
Sean, if I'm reading my notes correct, you're going to tell us that God is real, aren't you?
Well, I mean, we can go there, but I kind of want to pick up off of where you guys were just talking about Hebrews 11:1, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'd kind of push back against your interpretation of that. Another translation would be like, faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the Bible? I mean, earlier you guys were making good points as far as faith and trust, at least biblically, are synonymous. I mean, do you agree with that point?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that.
Yeah, in the biblical sense,
right.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. The Greek word it uses pistis, which just means trust. And I think this is where, I mean, in all fairness, Christians misuse this verse as well, thinking that just blind faith is some kind of admirable trait, which I would agree. Blind faith is not an admirable trait. Blind faith is just blind faith. It's stupid. You can put blind faith in anything.
Mm-hmm.
But the context in that is, again, you brought up that Hebrews were written in the first century, and we know in the first century Christians were under major persecution. So this is the writer of Hebrews.
I wouldn't say that. No.
Well,
so I'm not a historian, but okay. I don't think Christianity took a long time to get to any type of majority status within the Roman Empire. I think it took about 300 or 400 years. So in that first century,
Constantine legalized it in the 4th century.
Yeah. But I think I listened to a video on this a couple days ago, but I think it was like the Roman Empire was 50% Christian around 400 AD. So it took a while just to get up to just half and half. So I would say that in that first century, we have records of Paul supposedly going around and persecuting, but the Christians were such a minuscule, infinitesimally small minority compared to everyone else in the empire in the first century. I don't think we have good evidence that they were being persecuted to the extent you're probably trying to show. But yeah, I'm no historian, so
we even know that a little bit after Nero, there was hardly any persecution at all. Like they didn't really face any empire-wide persecution. That didn't come until later.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that under Nero there wasn't persecution?
I'm saying shortly after Nero's death, there's we don't really have any much evidence of persecution after Nero's death.
Yeah,
right. But Hebrews would have been written.
We don't want to get in the way of the point you're about to make. We don't want to get in the way of the point you're about to make, Sean. But we think maybe the setup's probably a little flawed there. But what was the thrust of what you're about to say?
Okay, well let's just assume the premise. The point I'm trying to make is, given that context, Paul is writing to Christians who are under persecution and saying, look, there's a promise of Christ's second coming. And basically the context is, you can put faith in that promise because of the first coming. Because of what you know already, you can put faith in what you don't know. A similar analogy would be like, if I don't know what my wife is doing at this second, I can put faith that she's doing what, nothing devious based on what I already know about her. So it's faith in the unknown based on the known, which is not blind faith.
Well, so the way I would be calling this blind faith is it would be faith without, like, sans any sort of evidence. When I
That's an
talk about,
assertion.
like, well, obviously it's an assertion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asserting a claim.
Okay.
Unless you have evidence.
I mean, well, the evidence within the first century would be like the accounts in First Corinthians, or at this point, it's probably fair to say that at least Mark had been written, so we have what would have been considered at the time to be accounts.
What do you think? What do you think Mark is? What do you think Mark is evidence of?
Mark is evidence of? I would say Mark at least is the evidence of so if the claim is that Christianity is true, Mark would be providing the evidence based on the accounts in Mark.
No, Mark would be a claim.
Yeah.
No, the claim was being made. Mark would be the evidence.
No, Mark is making claims.
Like
Mark is making
like
claims
Sean,
based on statements.
Like Sean, if let's say there was a rumor going around that, I don't know, Jovan was a millionaire. He was a secret millionaire. He's hiding it from all of us. Everyone's talking about it. And then I go and I write it down. I write it down and I start distributing that. That's not additional evidence for Jovan being a millionaire. That's just me recording the claim that's circulating and further circulating it. To me, the oral tradition that was going around in the first century and the writings of Mark, to me, those are one and the same. It is just the writing of what the oral tradition was. It's not further evidence of the oral tradition, or of the claims of the oral tradition, rather.
Well, there is no claim in Mark.
There's lots of claims in Mark.
You have records of oral
tons
tradition.
of claims in Mark.
Like, nowhere in Mark does it say Christianity is true. That's the claim.
But so
No,
Mark makes claims about Jesus' birth, the miracles he did, his ministry, the way he died, circumstances
being
around
Messiah.
There's lots of claims
Son
in there.
Of God.
Yeah. And so these were all
accounts.
Well, he's recording what the oral tradition was at the time. Whoever wrote Mark, setting aside whether Mark actually wrote Mark, whoever wrote Mark was just reiterating the claims at the time for some reason, whether it was to advance this religion or just simply he was writing a fan fiction. He was just like compiling all these stories because, he was, I don't know, maybe he thought that he knew the real thing and he wanted to set the record straight. Like, we don't really know the motivation behind it fully, but it is just a copying of what's being circulated, put into written form. That doesn't add evidence to the claims. That's just like, okay, this is just another form of the same claim.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going to have a lot of disagreement because, again, because it was an oral tradition, and Mark is claiming to be taking firsthand accounts. So
yes, claim, yeah.
Right.
Is Mark claiming to be a first-hand account? Because nowhere in Mark does Mark identify himself. The writer identify himself as Mark and say that this is what I saw.
That's not unusual.
Yeah,
yes, but for the first-hand accounts, yes.
Yeah, for first-hand accounts, that's kind of critical. Because Mark is written in the third person the whole time. And also, I think I can't remember correctly, was the conversation between Pontius Pilate and his wife and her dream, was that in Mark? If it was, then that can't possibly be an eyewitness testimony because, like, Mark's in their house listening to that conversation? Like,
Mark himself doesn't.
No, that would be that's Matthew.
Okay, yeah, that's in Matthew. Yeah, that was an embellishment, I think, added to the story later on. But Yeah, no, Mark doesn't identify, the writer doesn't identify himself as Mark, doesn't ever say, this is what I saw. The whole thing's written in the third person. It was written, and then we can add more stuff on top of that. It's written in high literary Greek, which is not the language that Mark would have wrote in. I think Mark was illiterate because most of the apostles were.
No, Mark was so according to church tradition, Mark was the Gospel of Mark is actually the Gospel of Peter. Mark was his scribe because Peter was illiterate.
Yeah.
Well, but the church is pulling that out of their backside, friend.
Yeah, that's church tradition is not to me really evidence, but anyway, the point being is, Sean, that we have lots of reasons to lower our confidence that Mark is evidence of this. It is a record of the claims.
I would say that if everything you say is accurate, and I'm not going to try to push back against it.
Sure.
You can lower if you want to lower your confidence in the reliability of Mark. That's fine. You can do that. But to say that Mark is evidence. Well, no, Mark is evidence. You just may not.
Wait. What is your
evidence?
Wait. What's your evidence that the things in Mark actually happened?
Because it was written during the first century, and there aren't any.
It doesn't mean anything.
Well, there's no pushback against it. For
there's
example,
tons of pushback against it.
I'm pushing back against it right now.
Well, right, you're 2,000 years removed. Your opinion doesn't matter on this.
Well, it absolutely does.
I'm saying
our opinion matters enough that you picked up the phone.
Huh?
Well,
our opinion matters enough that you picked up the phone.
Yeah, I get you have a varying opinion. That goes without saying.
Yeah.
In terms of evidence, it doesn't actually matter. So,
what?
But you have like say Luke, which uses Mark as a source document, and we know who Luke was, and we know who he was writing to, and
we don't know who Luke was.
So, Luke. Here's the thing, though. Luke has the same problems. Doesn't self-identify. Doesn't say that I am Luke and I wrote these things and I saw these things. And when you say that Luke used Mark as a source, he copied swaths of Mark word for word. Like that's not eyewitness testimony. Like
Luke doesn't claim to be an eyewitness. Luke is compiling
same
accounts.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though, like if Luke is the writer of Luke, then he's not like compiling accounts, because he'd be writing these things in his own word, or at least paraphrasing. But rather we see evidence. We see evidence that Luke copied Mark, Luke copied Matthew. They probably copied some other external sources that are now lost to us because we don't have them. But like when we look at this, like I said, this lowers confidence that these things are eyewitness testimonies by the actual authors that church tradition ascribes them to. It's like going back to the example with Jovan and him being a secret millionaire. Just because that claim floats around uncontested doesn't at all increase our confidence that claim is true. Whether the claim is contested or not is independent of whether the claim is true or not. It doesn't affect it. So saying that, in the first century, these things, these stories were going around and they were uncontested. First of all, we don't really know that. We don't know what was going on. It could be that Mark was written to set the record straight, because oral tradition on a religion, on a burgeoning religion, probably oral tradition starts conflicting with itself. And now, like, you have different pockets of burgeoning Christian communities, each with a different story about what happened. And maybe Mark was like, I'm just going to set the record straight. And he just took the stories that he liked and compiled it. And now that's the official record, because that's what survived over time. Like, very, very plausible explanation for why this is happening. Doesn't at all increase the likelihood that these things are true. It just simply increases our confidence that this is what was believed from the point of Mark being written forward.
And just touching back on Luke for like one quick second, Luke expressly writes that he is not an eyewitness to anything, and that he is just being told stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I made a misstep there when I mentioned Luke, but yeah, that's correct.
Right. No, I understand that. Luke is compiling realistically, if you read it, it reads like an ancient legal document. So this is probably presented at a trial. And that's why Luke was hired to do this. I forgot.
no
we
idea
don't,
about
we,
that.
we don't know.
Huh?
We have no idea who
Yeah, we
Luke
do.
was, why Luke wrote what he did. We have no clue about any of this.
Yeah.
Well, you just go to the opening line of Luke. He tells you.
Many have
Let me
undertaken to
flip
compile a
through
narrative of the things that have been fulfilled among us, just as they were handed on to us
Mhm.
by those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and servants of the word.
Right. Keep going.
I too decided
It's
after
in
investigating
it's in
everything
verse
carefully from the
3.
very first to write an orderly account for you. This doesn't read like a legal document at all.
Most excellent Theophilus. So Theophilus had hired Luke to compile these things. So we know what this document was.
Yeah, so none of this, I just want to reiterate, none of this is evidence, friend.
Yeah. To bring this back to
evidence is exactly what it is. It's not proof. I will grant you that. It is not proof. It is evidence.
Compiling the oral claims floating around into a document does not add veracity to those claims. That's the point.
Yes, it does when you can pin it against the historical background of what's going on, because you still have
historical backdrop. These aren't historians. These aren't historians. So what historical backdrop are they pinning it against? Because the only reason
the historical backdrop of what is happening in the first century. You still have the problem of an empty tomb. You still have the problem of
wait. The only reason we know there is an empty tomb is because of the Gospels. So the Gospels are claiming there was an empty tomb. There's no other accounts that verify an empty tomb. It's just the Gospels.
I just wrote down, Jovan.
You have the entire geopolitical landscape.
No, you don't. Nobody else anywhere. Nobody else in the world, not Rome, not anywhere, wrote about an empty tomb.
Yeah. So, Sean, I just wrote down Jovan is a secret millionaire. I just recorded what I just claimed. Did I just increase the probability of this being true?
If you're presenting it as
I'm presenting this as truth. Did the probability of this statement being true go up?
That would be evidence to the claim, and then we have to
did the probability I asked, hold on, that's not the question I asked. Did the probability of this being true go up by me writing it down and then claiming that this is true?
I don't know, but it's a false analogy.
No, this is exactly analogous, because Mark took the oral tradition, took the stories that were circulating at the time, and wrote them down.
So the story pre-existed Mark, to your own admission.
Yeah. Mark was a recording of the oral traditions that were circulating at the time. So the stories came first, and then Mark was written. Right. When Mark wrote down the stories, the probability of those stories being true did not go up. The same way that when I wrote down Jovan is a secret millionaire, the probability of this being true did not go up.
Okay. Would someone, if someone makes a claim, right, and then someone else unrelated reasserts the same claim, does that increase the probabilities of it going up?
Perhaps.
Not by much.
Perhaps, but not by much.
But it does increase
hold on.
it.
But that's the thing, though. The Gospels are not independent. The Gospels have a very incestuous relationship when it comes to these stories, because Matthew and Luke copied from Mark. John obviously knew about the other Gospels and wrote his 2.0 version. Like, these are not independent. Each writer read what came before. So you have to look at the Gospels as one source. Yeah.
If we had
are independent.
No, they aren't, because they can't be independently verified. If we had, Sean, an independent report from, let's say, the Roman guards who were at the tomb, who made a report saying the tomb is now empty, then that would give more validity to this.
Yeah.
But no, the claim is not evidence of the claim. So the Gospels aren't evidence that the claims they make are true.
But for example, Sean, I'll actually align with you here a little bit. Okay, so like, let's say, because right now currently the Gospels are one source, and it is the only source for certain claims like the empty tomb, like the resurrection. So when you look at that, we have very, very low confidence that those claims are true. But let's say hypothetically, let's say tomorrow, archaeologists unearth a Roman record vault, and inside there's like records about this Jesus of Nazareth who was executed via crucifixion and then put into a tomb. And this is a Roman record, independent of the Gospels. Okay, now we have more confidence that the empty tomb was actually a thing. So an independent source, especially as somebody.
Hey, here you go.
Need a moment. You good?
Yeah, no,
okay.
You're good.
Okay, yeah, all right. So anyway, an independent source that corroborates the claim does increase our confidence that that claim is true. Now, if it's something like a supernatural claim, like the resurrection, okay, well, hold on, we're going to pump the brakes on that because that's supernatural. But something as like mundane as like a tomb, sure, that will increase our confidence in it. But unfortunately, we don't have that. We only have one source, and that's the Gospels. And until we have something more, going to have very, very, very low confidence that that's true. Mainly, and I'll land the plane here. Mainly because a mundane claim like an empty tomb, it's like, yes, a mundane claim. Why don't you just accept it? Well, it's a mundane claim made in effort to support these supernatural claims. So the mundane claim takes on kind of like the taint of the supernatural claims. It's like, okay, this is not really a mundane claim. This is a supernatural claim because it's supporting that. So that's why we're like really, really cautious about what we ascribe truth values to in the Gospels. So if we were to unearth something tomorrow that independently corroborated certain facts about the Gospels, okay, yeah, our confidence goes up. But I don't think we have enough to say, oh, well, we had lots of stories like this circulating, so those are all independent claims, and that pushes the confidence up. Like, no, we don't have that.
Yeah, just to add on to that, when it comes to oral tradition being enough of the claim, this would mean that quite literally every religion is true, not just Christianity. Like, all the Greek mythos would be true if we're just taking oral tradition. And the Greeks can go a step further. They wrote down most of their stuff.
But
okay,
yeah.
So,
but I think we kind of no worries. I'm enjoying this conversation. This is actually really fun. But anyway, just maybe kind of get it back to the original point you were trying to make. So faith in the evidence of things unseen, and you're basically saying, okay, well, blind faith is bad, and I agree. But you're trying to say like, okay, we have evidence that supports these claims. And I guess it really comes down to like, why do you believe these claims to be true? And do you have good reason to believe that they're true? And that's kind of like what we're getting into with the Gospels. Jovan and I have really low confidence that any of these claims are true. Not 0% confidence, because who knows? I mean, it could be true. We don't know. But the question is like, why do you believe that they're true, assuming that you're a Christian?
Right. I mean, well, I would say I believe they're true based on a number of factors. In fact, you could even make an argument based on the number of arguments. But I guess in a nutshell, I would say, well, I can presuppose God based on the argument of contingency. And then from there, it's not too far-fetched to say, like, well, God can interact in his world. And then you look through the Old Testament, you have prophecy. And then I would say that Jesus fulfilled that prophecy. And when you look at everything as a whole, I think when you look at First and Second Peter, you look at the writings of John and the synoptics, and I think you have a good basis to base your faith on. It's like when people ask me, do I think there's going to be a second coming? Yes, I do. That is purely faith-based, but it's based on the fact that I have evidence to believe there was a first coming.
I'm just going to reiterate that I think the argument for contingency is silly. I think it makes a lot of presuppositions in its second premise that I don't think prove fruitful under scrutiny.
Yeah, and I've never actually heard an argument against contingency other than you don't like the argument.
Well, my argument would just be you'd have to prove that the universe is in and of itself a contingent thing, which we don't have any evidence for.
Yeah. My main distaste with it is that it tries to establish, it's kind of like the Kalam cosmological argument. It tries to establish this chain of dependency, but then all of a sudden it gets back to this one source that just can break all the rules. and they can break the rules because it's defined that way.
Yeah.
But can we agree?
I mean,
like you mentioned earlier that the number of arguments increases your confidence, and it's like, well, I guess, Sean, if we were to sit here for the next 4 hours and go through each and every one of the arguments and kind of show the flaws in each one of them, like, okay, we have a fallacy here, or we have bad evidence on this, and we're like ascribing too much confidence on this claim, yada yada, and we were go through one by one and like kind of not maybe outright defeat them, but just show the problems with it. Would that overall like lower your confidence in Christianity?
If you were actually able to go through each one and poke holes in all of them, I mean, again, it's still a probability thing for me because, you know, people are like, well, are you sure Christianity is true? I'm like, well, I'm not sure I exist. Okay. I'm only about 90% certain of that. So, but the argument from contingency makes total logical sense to me. And then you have the argument from morality. You have the argument of just, was I going to say logic and reasoning and all that kind of stuff. So again, that's a tough hill to climb if you were going to defeat all those arguments. And I quite frankly don't think you're going to have enough time in your lifetime. It's just,
well,
everything put together is just, it's a lot.
I don't think, yeah.
I was going to say, I don't think I have to defeat an argument that doesn't support itself.
Yeah.
Okay. So other than you don't like the argument I've heard against contingency.
I don't know why you're back to I don't like. I gave you a specific argument. You would have to prove that the universe is again, you have the burden of proof in substantiating that the universe in and of itself is contingent on anything. You have the burden of proof of that.
Because anything else is absurd.
How so?
Because of the impossibility of infinite regression.
No, what does it mean? Hold on.
Yeah.
What does it mean for something to be absurd?
It means logically incoherent.
Yeah. So how is something? Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jovan. I shouldn't get in the way. Go ahead.
No, I just want to know, how is something how can something be proven to be logically incoherent? What must it do?
It must violate. I mean, I'm not exactly Webster on this, but I'm pretty sure it needs to violate a law of logic.
Yep. And so believing the universe is not contingent on anything does not violate a single one of the laws of logic.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's not a logically absurd position. You can disagree with the position, but you can't call it logically absurd.
Unless you disagree, Sean. Like, can you name a law of logic that the premise the universe was not created violates?
No, I mean, I suck at philosophy.
That's fine. I do too. But that's the thing, Sean. Like the contingency argument, a lot of people, when they look at it and they do exactly what you just did, they say, okay, everything's contingent. Everything has a cause for its existence. And you count back and you count back and you count back and you get to the universe. And now we're talking about the universe, not the things in the universe, but the universe itself, not the cookies, the jar itself. And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, this thing I should treat the same way as the things that it contains, which might be a category error at that point. But then you say, okay, I'm going to go back one more step and call it a God. But for the God, I don't have to explain whether the God is contingent. He's just necessary by definition. And if you're going to do that, why not just simply say, hey, the jar itself is necessary. The universe itself is necessary. Why take that extra leap and have to add in all that extra stuff like the supernatural, a disembodied mind, a will, a purpose, sometimes a triomni trace, depending on what kind of Christian you are. Like you hit this point of the universe and then you go one step further and then add a bunch of extra stuff because reasons? Like, why do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say the reason that we can't say the universe itself is necessary or not contingent is because we know that it can't be.
How?
Based on simply
That was a circle,
based
friend.
on because it's moving into a state of entropy. All right, if the universe was eternally existent, it would have died a heat death an eternity ago.
Well, hold on.
That's just
hold
how
on,
the
hold on.
infinite works.
Well, no, actually, no. That you might be actually operating there on outdated or even distorted science, because so entropy is what happens within the universe. We're talking about the universe itself. Okay, so like I said, we might be just in category error territory because we talk about cookies in the jar, but we're talking about the jar itself at this point. But assuming that the universe is this universe itself is subject to the laws of thermodynamics and also the laws of entropy, there are models in science such as the Big Bang Big Crunch model, which shows, or not shows, but which theorizes that, hey, the universe goes through infinite cycles of big bangs and big crunches. So as the universe expands and as entropy hits its maximum, science stuff happens, and then eventually the universe collapses in back on itself and goes back to that singularity state, and then expands again. Like, there are ways to say, okay, we don't have to think about the universe having an absolute beginning. In fact, most scientists don't think the Big Bang is the absolute beginning of everything. I think it's like 68, 70% of them don't think that. It is just simply the expansion of the universe is what the Big Bang is talking about. But there are ways around
They're not
this.
basing that on anything.
No, they are. They're basing these things we're talking about a lot of we're talking about like scientific consensus, and this is way out of our wheelhouse. So let's not dive into it too much. What I'm saying
when it
is,
comes to the Big Bang, well, no, when it comes to the Big Bang, the issue that you're having is you're assuming that our end model going backwards has a beginning point, but it doesn't. You can even look to Stephen Hawking's famous paper on it, where he specifically says all that happens is our math becomes incapable of calculating it anymore.
Yeah.
We don't know that this is where the universe begins. We don't know that this is where what comes before. Our math can't calculate time specifically. It's that our math can't calculate time past this point. But that means nothing about whether or not there was a universe before that point or not.
But to kind of put
it's an atheism of the gaps argument.
No assumptions are being made. We're simply saying this is currently no assumptions are being made here. We're saying that we don't know what happens beyond the Planck time going backwards, but we have no reason to believe it's God, is what we're saying. We're not saying God definitely isn't there. Like, maybe a God is there. Maybe a deistic God is there somewhere. Who knows? But we don't have good reason to believe that or to assert it. And my point being is that we're hitting this point in the unknown where now, okay, we have little data. We're just laymen on this subject. So we go back and we're probably getting half the science wrong just by discussing it here. We have this unknown. It's this cloud that we can't seem to pierce. And that doesn't give us any license to say that, oh, well, the universe can't have, the universe must be contingent, or the universe can't be necessary, or there must be a God there. We don't have the information for that. And anytime we like assert that, we're basically saying that I am going to assert this because of some type of fallacious reasoning, whether it's like, okay, it's intuitive, or I don't have evidence to believe otherwise, or I have a book that says so. Like, we are making assertions about what happens back then. We're challenging the assertion you're making that the universe is contingent, because we don't know whether that's the case or not.
Okay, do you think, and I mean, this is an honest question, do you think that is a fair, how do I want to word this? Is a fair, I guess, policy, for lack of a better word,
regarding
to
what?
assume,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you think it's a fair, I guess, assumption? It is a fair assumption to make that things are as they appear unless proven otherwise.
Is it a fair assumption to make that things are the way they appear unless proven otherwise? I really don't know the answer to that question.
Say that one more time.
Things are as they appear unless proven otherwise.
Yeah, is it a fair assumption to say that things are as they appear unless proven otherwise?
Sure, comma. There's nothing that shows that the universe appears to have a beginning.
Yeah, because
we know it had a beginning. We just don't know what that beginning cause was.
No, we don't.
Yeah,
we don't know that it had a beginning. So why, without the knowledge of it having a beginning, why would I believe it does?
That actually might be where the
Because
disconnect
it's a math
is.
problem at this point.
So Sean, that actually might be.
You can throw cosmology out of it. All right, it's a simple math problem. All right, if you have to traverse an infinite set of events, you can never get to today. That's how the infinite works.
No, I wouldn't say that at all, because we can start counting. There's infinite numbers, both negative and positive, and we have no problem with starting counting somewhere. But that actually might be where our disconnect is, Sean. That actually might be where our disconnect is. I mentioned this earlier, but maybe it was missed. Most scientists, most cosmologists don't look at the Big Bang as the beginning of the universe. It is just the beginning of the expansion.
That's an appeal to the majority.
No, it's not an appeal to a majority, because these are the subject matter experts. We don't know better than they do.
And if they're that they themselves can't.
Sean, what I'm trying to say is, we don't know. The subject matter experts, the current consensus among them is that the Big Bang is not the beginning of the universe. It's just the beginning of the expansion of the universe. What comes before, we don't know, and they're working on it. But we can't look at that and then just say, intuitively, it feels like this is the beginning of the universe, and oh, by the way, God must be the explanation for it. We don't have justification for that. We reject that. Not calling it false. You might be right, but we don't have any evidence to determine that or not. And I think until that happens, it's irrational to hold that position. Like that's our position on it. We're not arguing the opposite is true. We're saying that statement that God is behind the universe beginning due to the contingency argument is unjustified.
Okay. So I guess, and obviously we're not going to reach any kind of consensus on this, but
probably not.
I guess. I would say, just to kind of push back against what you're saying, I don't really care what the majority of people, what their opinion is based on something that they themselves say we can't possibly know.
I don't think they say that either.
You cannot use the scientific
There's a
method.
category error. There's a category error happening here, Sean.
I actually got to stop you there. Sorry, go ahead, John. Go on. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, they are saying they do not know what comes after the math, because they can't do the math anymore. And you're saying, so there's definitely a beginning, and we're saying we don't know what there is.
And they are, and for the record, for the record, they are not saying that we can't know. I'm just going to put that in there, and I'll let you talk. Scientists are not saying we can't know. That's you putting words in their mouth. I've never heard a scientist say it's impossible for us to know. They are currently working on it. That's their job to work on it. But go ahead.
Right. Yeah. So I guess just to explain my position. Yeah, I'm not saying that they say they can't know. I'm saying they can't know, because to apply the scientific method, something needs to be measurable, observable, or repeatable. Okay, and you can't measure what's happening outside of the realm of our universe within our universe. It can't happen. So I'm saying they cannot possibly know or find out, because they're confined by the simple parameters of reality. So that's why I'm saying I don't actually care what.
Let's roll with that. Let's say, okay, let's pretend that's true. What gives you the authority to make any calls like that then? Like why when you say, well, then that means that God's behind it, why should we listen to you on that?
Well, because I'm not. I mean, you can even pull the word God out of it if it's too much of a loaded term. I'm just saying, based on how things appear, things certainly appear to have a beginning, and then from there you can just simply do some logical reduction, is to figure out what definitionally that beginning might look or should have to look like. When you say, well, number one, it must be sufficient to result in the universe. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with me on that one. It must be outside of the universe itself, because, again, I understand you disagree with me on this point, but I still contend that the actual infinite is impossible. and you can an infinite regression is impossible. So
is
the buck has to stop
this
somewhere.
source infinite? Hold on, Sean. Is this source infinite?
I mean, so that's where it gets kind of tangled up. But yeah, I would say
That's where the contradiction.
yes,
that's where the contradictions start coming in here. So Sean,
Well,
I'm gonna be blunt with you, Sean. Like you are. So like I said, we're laymen and we're trying our best, and this is a fun conversation. Okay, but you are discarding what the subject matter experts say, claiming that they can't know, and then you're claiming that you do know, or you have good reason to believe.
I'm not claiming I know.
Okay, you're claiming you have good reason to believe then, right? Is that maybe a more fair statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my claim.
All right. And then you're pointing to these problems that the universe poses as if, such as the universe can't be infinite. But then you're taking those attributes and then just transferring it to the next item up the chain and saying, well, the source, which I know you're saying God, but let's keep God out of it. The source has that attribute. The source is infinite. The source is sufficient. The source is this, and this, and this, and then disembodied mind, and then, doesn't want you masturbating. Like the jump you're making from the unknown origins of the universe, if the universe did have an origin, the jump you're making to that, all you're doing is transferring the problems to that other thing and then just simply defining it away, saying, no, the source doesn't have to worry about the infinity problem. The source doesn't have to worry about having a beginning. And like I said, what you're adding in there is so extreme because you're going out of the natural into the supernatural. And it's
going to the supernatural and metaphysical?
Unjustified.
They're not the same thing.
Oh, sure, okay, metaphysical, that's fine. But it's like you're going out, and as you claim that we can't measure or verify or anything outside of our universe, at least not currently. I don't know if it's possible or not. But the fact that you admit those things and say these are all problems, but now I'm going to take these problems and throw them out the window because I'm going to this other thing that I don't have to worry about these problems with. And it's I see contradictions here. That's the problem. Like you want to establish these rules, and then the rules suddenly don't apply when it comes to your favorite thing, which is God. And this isn't the process we use to come to truth. This isn't the process we use to come to these things. This is just wishful thinking.
Okay. I meant to qualify my last statement, just for the record. So the physical infinite does not exist, but since we don't consider God physical, it's not a logical contradiction. And I would say, yes, logically coming to things is exactly how we determine truth. Because the truth is science doesn't say anything. Scientists do. Okay? So and it's the reason why, you can put two scientists in a room looking at the same set of evidence and coming to different conclusions. All right? So, yes.
But when that happens,
logical deduction is exactly how we come to truth.
The problem is, Sean, right now there is zero scientific evidence that the universe has a beginning. We only use inductive reasoning to come. Yes, it is.
There is.
Yeah, we have no direct evidence of that.
I mean, you have the singularity. That is your evidence.
That's
now you
not
can say
evidence.
that it's not proof, but again, I think you are conflating proof and evidence.
What is the singularity?
It's a space.
What is
the point
the singularity?
in time where space, time, and matter come together, and math doesn't extend past that point, so we can't calculate it.
Great. So then the answer is we don't have any evidence that the universe began. All we have evidence of,
that is the evidence.
No.
It just appears that we can't. If I have a tape measure that goes 5 feet, and I'm trying to measure something, and then the tape measure stops, but that thing extends past that, can I say this is evidence that this thing is only 5 feet long? Because I can't measure past where my tape measure ends. We can't watch the universe go past it.
You're watching the thing go past the tape measure.
Sean, this is becoming incoherent.
Can an argument appear to be good, but really not be good?
Sure.
Can an argument appear to be valid and sound, but it's really not valid and sound? Yeah, I think so. Deductive logic is one of the ways we come to truth statements. And as far as I can tell, you are not engaging in deductive logic. It's an attempt at one, but like none of this is formalized. We're throwing out
Mhm.
subject matter expert consensus. We're saying what it appears to be, but then in the next breath, we're saying, but we have no evidence of what comes before the Planck time. So, and we have no way to analyze that. But then we go on to say again what it appears to be. And what at this point is this is just gestures at intuition. And when it comes down to like truth finding, intuition isn't going to help us, especially when it comes to things like physics and the cosmos, where many times we've looked at it and said it appears to be one way, but then science develops and it goes, oh, actually, this is completely different. Like 150 years ago, 200 years ago, we looked at just, like Newtonian physics and we're like, yeah, it's what it appears to be because we can like demonstrate all these things. But then eventually quantum physics comes along and says, nope, it's not what it appears to be. Like, when we're talking about the beginning of the universe itself, intuition isn't a valuable tool there, especially when it comes to like, I'm going to use my intuition to jump to the super or the metaphysical and jump to a god. Like, sure, it's your prerogative to do that, but you can't say that you're justified in that because first of all, you can't use logic to show it. At least you can't use like a logical proof to show it. The evidence is not there. It is really just a lot of hand waving at the unknown and then just like assumption after assumption after assumption. Like, okay, the universe had a beginning, which we don't agree on. That beginning must have had a necessary cause. And oh, by the way, that cause is itself, like I said, necessary. It is not contingent. And oh, by the way, it has to have the power. It has to have the will. It has to be disembodied mind. Like I said, assumption after assumption after assumption after assumption. For us right now, me and Jovan, it's a big question mark. We don't know. We don't have any reason to jump to those things because, like, I mean, if you want to like increase the probability of what you're saying to being true, demonstrating to us that the supernatural exists would be good. Demonstrating to us that God, like, there could be evidence that could like support your claims, but right now we don't have anything like that. So, but anyway, I think we might be like circling to this point. We'll give you the last word, Sean, and then we'll give you the last word. Then we're gonna go on different. Feel free to give us a closing statement. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, all I would say is it feels like at this point you guys have kind of flipped it where now it feels like you're the one appealing to the unknown. I'm
making no claims.
You have to say statements like, well, sorry. All I would say is, you're saying that I can't use deductive reasoning based on how things appear to be, which to me is a wild statement. That it's like, all right, well, in that case, we can't know anything, huh?
It's not the claim we made.
But no, you did earlier. No. And granted, you guys said a lot, so I'm trying to sort through it all.
Sure.
But you said that, well, you're just saying because things appear this way, therefore it must be. Like, yes, no. I think that is a fair statement to make. The universe appears to have a beginning. I agree. It may not.
No, it doesn't.
But, huh?
It doesn't.
But anyway, yes, I would say I am basing my argument on things that are observable and known. You're basing your argument on things that you admit you can't possibly know.
Again, anyway, Sean, I hate to cut in before we let you go, but no, you're not basing it on things that are known because quite literally nobody knows if the universe had a beginning. But thank you for calling in, Sean.
You know that there was a singularity.
No, again, we don't know that was the beginning of the universe. Thank you for calling in. Again, we don't know that was the beginning of the universe, Sean. Goodbye.
Bye, Sean. It was a fun conversation.
Yeah, the contingency argument is so like. It's just such a big misunderstanding of what the actual science is.
To me, it just kicks the can because, yeah, there's a lot of questions about that stage of the universe before the Planck time. Lots and lots of questions. I don't know half of what I'm talking about when it comes to that, but that's kind of where religion thrives. It thrives in the unknown. It thrives in the frustrating questions of like, okay, where'd the universe come from? How did it develop? All this stuff. Religion thrives in that type of environment because there are so many unknowns and it is hard to analyze and investigate it.
Well,
it turns into just a God of the gaps thing where it's like, okay, yeah, we got these unknowns. I'm going to just plaster my God in there.
Every piece of like inductive reasoning that Christians end up doing to prove God ends up just being God of the gaps at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's just we don't know what this means, so it must be God.
Yeah.
Guys, if you want to call in to debate us, if you're a theist who wants to pick up the phone, 720-619-2288. Also, I'm looking at you, chat, and I'm sort of wondering why, with almost 1,200 of you in here, there's only 289 likes. That seems kind of wrong. So why don't we get those likes up?
Yeah.
And get some
Audience.
super chats in. Like,
Audience,
where,
pull
come
your
on.
weight, audience.
Damn, I didn't say it like that, but you know what?
I'll say it. I'll be bad cop today. Audience,
You be the bad guy.
wagging my finger at you. Pull your weight. Hit that like button.
We're going to bring up our next guest. We have Trevor, who's calling just blanket from the U.S. Trevor, a theist from the United States, he, him, calling to tell us why the contingency argument is useful. Trevor, if you can hear me, you're on the line with Jovan and Eric. How are you doing today?
Hey, can you hear me? I'm doing good.
Okay, good. Trevor, what do you practice any religions at all?
I essentially kind of am now kind of moving like all the religions are true, but the shorthand is like Christianity is true.
Okay, shorthand Christianity is true. Longhand, all of them are true at the same time.
All religions are true, even the ones that like contradict each other.
Yeah.
Oof. Hold on. You're affirming contradictions? That's not a good way to start, Trevor.
What?
Affirming contradictions?
Yeah, I mean it's unreasonable, but
What do you mean
it's like-
unreasonable? Affirming contradictions is unreasonable. Are you admitting to doing that?
yeah.
Oof, Trevor,
Yeah,
you aren't gonna.
because I
We're
think
off to a really bad
I think
start
it's
here, my
made
friend.
necessary. You would
The
think so.
very
I
first
think-
thing, the very first thing you've said is that you believe in violating
wrong.
the first. Well, you believe in violating one of the three laws of
Yeah.
logic.
This is what Sean was doing basically, Trevor, in our earlier call. It's like, okay, I want to use logic up to a point, but then when it comes to, and tell me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to it, you're saying, okay, I'm going to affirm contradictions because these contradictions are permissible under my God view. So it's like I have these rules that I apply to everything in life, but when it comes to my favorite thing, God, I'm just going to throw the rules out.
Well, I mean, it's not because it's my favorite thing. It's because it's like it.
Is God's not your favorite
man.
thing?
I don't know why. I don't even want it to be like God stuff. You don't even have to say God. It's just like it's like if it's like heaven. It's like the world is all good and everybody likes each other, and everybody's company is welcome.
I agree. It's a pleasant. I agree. It's a pleasant.
Amazing.
I agree. It's a pleasant story. I do agree. Heaven sounds like a pleasant story. I think maybe heaven will get kind of nightmarish because you can never leave and you're there forever. and like you get sick of the townhouse that God gave you. And it's like, it's going to be after billions and billions of years of that, it'd probably be pretty maddening. But I just want to say though, like, I don't think we can have a conversation, Trevor, if you are going to try to affirm contradictions, because it's just, I simply won't allow that in my conversations.
Well, I mean, so the thing is, it's like, I guess in everybody's individual, oh man. Like I completely understand what you're saying, that like logic is and reason are imperative, and like rational science, you know, like the world is built atheist, kind of, right?
What's that?
Like
the world is built.
Everything is measurable.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Measurable and reasonable. The world is built atheist.
I don't know that I would say,
like
I don't know what that would mean, because atheism isn't a claim that like everything can be measured. It's just a claim that there's not enough evidence for a belief in God.
Yeah. We withhold belief until we have good evidence
that's what I mean.
or good reason to believe.
Living in all the stuff that we have, there isn't a good enough reason to need to lean on God. Because this stuff doesn't lean on God. It's just like we made all this stuff and we make these reasonable seeming arguments, and oh man.
I'm not quite sure what you're getting at.
It's so hard to defend irrationality in every religion at once.
I agree. So why are you
Well,
trying?
that's why. Yeah, that's why we're confused why he went that way.
Yeah, why are you trying this then? If it's
I guess
hard,
I guess
like I agree. Doing hard things is worthwhile, but what you're trying to do is an impossible thing because you're trying to affirm contradictions. By definition, are
it seems
impossible.
like it.
Like for instance,
I don't know.
Trevor.
You have
For
you have an
instance,
all-powerful God who cares about emotional justice as the outcome, and
Yeah.
who gives you an eternal afterlife right after you die. So to do all that, he kind of has to have like contradictions for individual groups of people.
Why-
So like I'm thinking about
why
like,
believe-
if you think about like
Trevor. Hold
Black
on, Trevor.
Hebrew Israelites.
Trevor.
Okay.
Hold on. Why even believe that story? Like what you said about God and sending his son to die. Why even believe any of that?
Oh, I didn't say send the son to die, but it is that kind of
Maybe
thing.
I misheard you, but the thing that you said that God does, why believe that? What's the reason to believe it?
Oh, that he defends like an emotionally just outcome for everybody's lives.
Why believe that?
I guess
That's
it's
another
the
claim, but
Bible
like
and the
why
Scripture and the Holy
believe
books.
it? Why believe it?
It's the holy books. If you look at just like the, and then we'll look
Why
at these holy
why
books and you'll be
believe the
like, well,
holy
this God is
books?
super unethical.
Well, hold on, Trevor. Why believe the holy books?
Because, I mean, literally, because to my feeling, they hold water. It's like it is kind of a like logic.
Can your
in the
feelings
end does kind of come down to an intuition, right?
can you feel one way about something, but that something be false? Like
Absolutely.
yeah, okay. So like my thing earlier about Jovan being a secret millionaire, he totally is, by the way. Like I
Right.
could have a feeling about this, but my feeling doesn't at all tell me whether this is true or not. Right?
Well, I don't know. How does he hold himself? Is he wearing, what is he wearing?
He's really good at being
Does
that
he
secret
hang out?
millionaire. Like, but here's the thing, okay? Like, so take this statement here,
I'm
Trevor.
saying like
Jovan
there
is
would be like an emotional reality to that informational position he would hold. If he knew he was like he wouldn't have certain nervous. He wouldn't be thinking about his rent in a certain way. He'd be drinking out more. He'd be something. I don't know. I don't know what
Trevor,
the pattern would be.
getting back to this. You're talking about how Jovan behaves, but what we're talking about is the feelings that you feel when analyzing the claim. So Jovan's actually not part of this conversation directly. This statement here, Jovan is a secret millionaire. Okay, it has a certain number for its probability of being true. If I get angry at this statement, does that probability change at all? Like, let's say the probability of this being true is 5%, and I'm now angry at this claim. Did that 5% go up or go down, or stay put?
I mean, kind of.
Really? I can get angry at a piece of paper, and then
really.
that makes the probability go up?
I guess it makes the probability of truth of other things about you go up. And then if you know Jovan,
hold on. No. You're trying to get out.
Change the
Trevor, hold on.
of him.
Trevor, my friend, lock in and listen to my question here. I'll just spell it out for you. I can get angry at this statement. I can get sad at this statement. I can get excited at this statement because I know Jovan's going to totally give me that loan. Like, my emotions, my feelings have nothing to do with whether this is true or not, or what's probability of being true is. So if you look at these holy books and go, oh, I get some warm feelings when I read this. I feel that these are true. That doesn't tell you if it's true or not. Surely there's a better method.
That's interesting. It's like I feel like we're talking emotional now, but we're kind of lacking. We're in like this hypothetical, and I don't really want to like.
I asked you why believe the holy books, and you said it feels right, and I just demonstrated to you that feelings don't have anything to do with it.
Trevor, I'm an atheist right now. Trevor, listen. Trevor, listen. Right now, I'm an atheist. Why should I be Christian?
There you go.
I don't know that you should be, honestly, but I think the scripture is true and will point you to having a healthier.
Based on what is the scripture true? You said the scripture is true. Based on what?
Based on just, experience and intuition, but then also like kind of different inferences I'm making.
Based on experience and intuition, I believe mermaids are true. Does this
Well, okay.
hold up in the realm of logic?
Not easily, no.
Okay.
I
So
like
should
for
we be
for every
basing our
reason, no.
belief on something true? Great. So then should we be basing our belief on the truth claims, are the truth of a claim based on our intuition and like potentially what we've experienced, or should we have some other form of
Can
evidence?
can we replace mermaids with like sirens from Greek mythology, and
We can
and
replace
then we
mermaids
have
with
this
damn
like,
near whatever you
well,
want. Unicorns,
okay.
dragons,
Just because I don't know mermaids to
cyclopses,
have like a clear emotional
rap
symbolic
music,
use,
all
but
things that don't exist.
Let's be sure these sirens have pixie
sirens have
cuts
this like,
because those are awesome. Trevor, what are we doing here, man?
I'm trying to say that like sirens become necessary for these people to believe in whoever like has them in their mythology, because they represent like a relational emotional force. They represent part of sexuality between a person and their surroundings. And to like kind of have a narrative of sirens and a language of it is kind of to say like, it's to ward off sexuality in a way. It's to do this like traditional, making it seem evil and chaotic and like ensnaring sometimes. Am I making sense? Is this too wild? I'm saying like, so I'm defending all these like mythologies as having an emotional use that I think when
I
people lean into them as a group, kind of does make
I
them real. Like
I
I
do
think God is
agree. I
a
do agree that these stories have some utility. It adds to culture.
okay,
Probably brings some people comfort.
but
Probably
then I think almost
communities
it,
were formed around this many years ago. These stories, but I'm concerned with whether or not these stories are actually true. And you've brought nothing to the table to
yeah.
convince me that any of these stories are true.
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to point to the Greek stuff. I guess I'm trying to point to the Abrahamic covenants and like the people of
Yeah,
the
it's
book.
fine. I can
Let's
agree
talk.
that
Let's talk to
I can
Abraham.
agree. I can agree that they had utility, but that doesn't
Wait,
at all demonstrate whether it's true or not.
let's talk the Abrahamic of it all. Trevor, do donkeys talk?
Sorry, what did you say? Donkeys talk?
Can
I
donkeys
don't
talk?
know. I mean, yes, in the scripture, yes.
Have you ever heard a donkey talk outside of Shrek?
No, I have not.
Shrek doesn't count.
I've never seen a
So
man resurrect either. So I'm
do we think the
Yeah.
scripture might be wrong or lying? Because we know donkeys don't talk.
well, like I'm saying, I feel like all these strange stories wind up having like it's like somebody needs to hear that guidance. Paul needed to hear that guidance, right? Or am I wrong about that?
I mean, you're going back to utility, and we've already agreed that these stories have had utility, may even still have utility, but are they true? And you're already starting from a point where you're like, well, they're all true
Well,
because you can affirm contradictions. Like it's,
yeah,
Trevor,
exactly.
I don't
I
think,
mean,
I'll be honest. I'm going to psychoanalyze you a little bit. You don't strike me as somebody who really
please.
cares about truth. You care about comfort.
Oh man, dude, there you go. That was a good stab.
I mean,
Well,
show me I'm
it's
wrong.
I do care about the truth of like the. I mean, it is just this kind of justicey emotional stuff. It is like everybody's voice being heard at the end of the day from all positions, and us living in the same reality with the same truth, things being made like clear and rational.
Right.
And so where I'm confused. I'm just coming off like a disconnected hypocrite, or I mean, it is like too open to too many confirmation biases, I guess.
Uh, you're kind of losing me.
How about
Like,
this? How about this? How about this?
Let's put it. Hold on, Trevor. Let me try to refocus this conversation here. Okay. Do you think it's important that we believe as many true things as possible and as few false things as possible?
I would say yes very easily, except for some people are in positions where to accept something puts them in pain.
I'm not talking about other people, Trevor. I'm not talking about other people. I'm talking about you. This is the question directed towards you.
Yeah.
Would you say yes to the question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So would you also say yes to the dress?
So if you are being truthful with us, it's okay. It's like I a quick aside here. Reality TV, like, I hate. So whenever somebody mentions something like that, I'm like, you kind of short circuit me. But anyway, okay. So Trevor, you just affirmed that, okay, you want to believe as many true things as possible and as few false things as possible. What is the best way to do that, Trevor? Do you think?
I mean, expose yourself to just a lot of information and process it.
Kinda, but information is just information. But the question is, how do you determine whether that information you're receiving is true or not? Like when somebody makes a claim that sirens exist, how do you determine whether it's true or not? Like, what's your process?
I mean, if I'm moving through the world right now, they don't exist.
I'm sorry, what?
But if I'm moving through the world right now, they don't exist.
What doesn't exist?
Unless I encounter someone who's using that language or like enacting that.
I think we're losing the thread here. I think we're losing the thread here. I'm asking you what process you use to determine whether something is true or false. Like, for example, my claim that Jovan's a secret millionaire. So safe to say, you don't have a definitive answer to that question. Jovan could be a secret millionaire, or Jovan might not be a secret millionaire. Those are the only two options. They both can't be true at the same time, because that would be a contradiction. And I know we're going to have to go over that here. They can't be true at the same time. It cannot be the case that Jovan is a secret millionaire and not a secret millionaire at the same time. It cannot be the case.
Yeah.
So, but one of those two are true. How would you go about figuring out which one is true?
I would look at some kind of ledger in the end. I would get a document.
His bank account,
from some credentialized person.
That's a good start. Find some evidence.
Someone wrote it down, and it was in one state. And money is that way. It's like an object on a ledger that is logical.
Yeah, that's a great start. That's a great start. Find a ledger, find a bank statement, maybe get his stock, a printout of his current state of his stock portfolio. But here's the thing though.
There's no
here's the thing though. The claim itself written down isn't enough. And when you're appealing to holy books as the evidence, you're just appealing to the claim. This goes back to our conversation at the very beginning with Sean.
More so, it's
But here's the thing, writing it down and making a claim doesn't make it true. It is just the claim. So you said, okay, well, hey, because I wrote this down, that doesn't make this more true. But what happens is you go out and you find some actual evidence to support this claim. So in the case of Jovan being a secret millionaire and you do that investigation, that's an excellent way to go about investigating. Why do you not take that very solid, very robust method and apply it to the stories in the holy books? Why don't you do that?
Because the God in the holy books is doing things that ask you for faith outside of your being able to read a ledger or make a reading ahead of time.
But that's the thing, though. We're asking you, how do you know that's true?
Because of all these insane stories in these scriptures,
I think you're missing my point here, because now you're back to the claims. I'm asking you how to investigate the claims, and you say, what's the evidence of the claims? And then you just go back to the claims. For instance, what was it? First Kings.
Okay.
In First Kings, Elijah and the competing Baal worshippers at the time. It's First Kings or Second Kings. First Kings 18, I think. Elijah put God to the test in that story in the book of the Bible. Elijah and the Baal worshippers both were saying, Elijah was saying Yahweh is the real God. The Baal worshippers are saying, no, Baal is the true God. They had a throwdown.
Yeah.
And they conducted a test with it was a test having to do with firewood and prayer and which god would light the firewood on fire. Like that's a
Yeah.
good
And they,
test right there. So like for instance, like I don't know, let me hold on 1 second.
well, but he doesn't do that kind of thing anymore. He does like there was
Does
this whole
God
Jesus.
does your
God does way worse.
yeah, hold on. Does your God still interact with the world today? Does he like cure diseases, save people from certain death?
He like preserves the path to curing diseases. Yeah.
Okay.
Trevor,
So
do
I
you
mean,
do you
he's
think
like
God,
constantly enacting things
whatever Trevor,
in kind of this
whatever God
reverse
you
way.
believe in,
Yeah?
whatever God you believe in, do you think that God is an all good being?
I don't know. That's complex. Like functionally, yes, but it
What does
opens
that
him up
mean
to doing
functionally?
things
Yes.
that appear ungood. He appears to demand child sacrifice, or he appears to, be simply
Let me ask
putting
you,
his
Trevor, a
stance
question.
on
I'm asking this is
genocide.
me this
Or
is me directly asking a question to 27-year-old
yeah,
Trevor. Okay? Trevor, if
okay,
you're walking down an alley, you're walking down
all
an
right,
alleyway at night, it's dark, it's night, and you see in this alley a
okay,
man about to assault a woman. You see it's about to happen. And you know
yeah.
beyond a shadow of a doubt that you, Trevor, could stop this assault from happening. And no harm would come to you. You could just stop it from happening. Would it be a good thing if you stopped it?
Yes,
Would it be bad if you ignored it and continued walking?
yes.
Why does God ignore every woman ever getting assaulted ever if he's a good being?
Well, because I'm an agent in the world of free will, and God, like,
God doesn't
may
have
have
free
just
will?
set it up for me to be, or like someone to be wandering by.
So let's actually take what
And then
Jovan just
man,
said, Trevor. Trevor, let's take
I
what
think
Jovan just
God
said.
kind of
I
does
wanna
have free will
Trevor,
in a
hold
way.
on. I like where Jovan's going with this, but maybe let's reframe it just a little bit, okay?
Yeah,
Rather
sorry. Go for it.
than woman being assaulted, okay? Let's say I mug somebody in an alley and I douse them in gasoline and I'm going to light them on fire.
Oh,
Why doesn't God stop me from doing that?
I don't know. He's probably not been pushing you toward that. He's probably been restraining you for a while. Why are you in this
But
alleyway lighting
but
someone
but
on
no,
fire?
Trevor, why doesn't God stop me
Yeah,
from lighting that person on fire?
I mean because uh,
Because you just
I don't know.
appealed to free
Because
will,
we're all in
right?
material reality. There was kind of this language of sacrifice God before, and
I don't understand how that
murder is just part of it.
applies.
Like Cain and Abel,
Like
like
you're
in a way,
claiming like
God is
Trevor,
endorsing that we can do
if
murder by
you're a
creating us
Christian,
this way.
Trevor, if you're a Christian, which I'm guessing you are, correct me if I'm wrong, you probably think your God is omnibenevolent. He is all good. And yet he stands by and watches people light other people on fire. Why does he do that if he's all good?
I mean, to be really like to just jump into the unsupportable fact. He's taking that person to. I mean, yeah, they're going to a better place. It sounds very cliche, but like
Oof.
they do just go straight to a just eternity that is more like paradise. But even without
Yikes.
that,
Yeah.
he's letting Cain act out this horrible thing that is in his head and in his body, and it will be there for eternity. And he's acting it out on earth
Okay.
so that.
Well, Trevor, I think
And then he receives the mark of Cain from. Sorry.
yeah, I think we might be at the end of the call here because it appears you're having a hard time following these threads. And like I said, we probably shouldn't have even entered this conversation because, like I said, you're affirming contradictions. It's like if you're basically discarding logic from the get go, I don't think there's anything we can say that's going to have any impact on you.
Well, no. I'm saying that like the space where there are no contradictions, although in a literal sense you can find contradictions, is the scripture. is the holy books. That
But
is like the path
if two religions, going back to that
to
conversation,
a
if two
safer-
religions contradict, they both can't be true. The same way that it can't be true at the same time that Jovan's a secret millionaire, not a secret millionaire. Like they can't be
Well,
true.
but they can have like apparently contradicting truths. So like
This is
It's-
so.
it's not-
This
it's not-
this is a
this
very
is-
weird.
I'm sorry. Okay, so Trevor, we're gonna go ahead and let you go. We appreciate the call, but
Well, it kind of gets to like
I want you. No, hold on.
Sorry,
No. Oh my God, Trevor, you gotta stop.
it
You
gets
gotta
to
stop.
like queerness right there.
All right. Go hang up,
What-
Jovan.
what was that at the end?
I don't know.
Goodbye, Trevor.
It's another tangent.
What about queerness?
I know. Like that was okay. It's like, all right, now we're
Okay.
entering troll territory.
Yikes.
So anyway, Jovan, I'm sending you
Ooh.
my Venmo. Sending you my Venmo, right? You're gonna spot me a few G's, right?
Yeah, with my millions, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
If I was a
promise won't tell
millionaire,
anybody.
bro, I would be blessing like every like literally every single if it's what am I trying to say? If it's like GoFundMe, Indiegogo, I'd be up here like making it rain if I had Elon Musk levels of money.
Yeah. But anyway, folks in the audience, if you're like, no, I think contradictions can be affirmed when it comes to God, like what Trevor was trying to do, and also kind of what Sean was trying to do before, you need to ask yourself, why are you doing that? Why are you throwing the rules out when it comes to your favorite thing? Like that's not honesty. That's not consistency. And what I was trying to get to with Trevor was when he was saying like, you know, all the religions are true. And then at the very end there, he's like apparent contradictions. No, we have very solid contradictions between certain religions. Like for instance, Christianity versus Islam. Christianity says Jesus died. It's the whole crux of Christianity is Jesus died, D-I-E-D, dead for your sins. But then Islam, 100 years later, say actually no, Jesus didn't die. It was like it was faked, or the records were forged. Jesus actually wasn't executed. Jesus was a special guy, like from God, but Jesus didn't die. So you have Christians saying Jesus died. You have Islam saying Jesus did not die, at least not from the crucifixion. That's a contradiction. Both cannot be true at the same time. And if you want to sit there like Trevor was and saying, you know what, I'm going to accept these contradictions, you are completely throwing reason and logic out the window. You can now make anything fly. And that's not the way to truth.
tend to operate. That's why I really like the alleyway question, because it is just a very easy yes, it would be bad if you did this.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so then God is bad.
We didn't get to it, but so I know like a lot of times we use examples like SA and other like horrible things that happen in the world. And then we ask the question like, well, why didn't God stop it? But the reason why I went to lighting a person on fire is because we have a very solid example in the Bible of God preventing people from getting lit on fire. And that's the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the book of Daniel. So when a Christian wants to appeal to free will, which is why they say like, oh, well, that's why God doesn't intervene, because he wants to preserve free will. We have a concrete example in the Bible of God doing just that. God made Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego fireproof. So fireproof that they were in a furnace and basically walking around inside of it. And this furnace was so hot that the guards that threw them in there died because the furnace was so hot. But God made these guys fireproof. If God can make somebody fireproof and not violate free will, why can't he make somebody murder-proof or rape-proof or assault-proof or mugging-proof or cancer-proof? Like, God could do all these things. Anyway, yeah,
I know why. It's because he doesn't exist.
Oh,
but let's see. John from Florida, who's a theist, wants to tell us that he does. So, John from Florida, you are on the line with Jovan and Eric. How are you doing today?
Good. How about you? Of course he exists. That's why I'm calling. How are you?
Well, I can't wait for you to prove the unprovable. John, what religion do you follow?
I'm Catholic.
Okay. Now, are you going to talk to us about just God in general, or are you going to specify and prove to us that the Catholic God is real?
I would like to help all atheists, because I was a former atheist, turned to a theist.
Well, that didn't answer the question I asked you.
Yeah.
Oh,
what was the question?
Okay,
Yeah. What was the question asked of you, John?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you remember the question that was asked to you, or do you want us to repeat it?
I'm sorry. Repeat it. Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Jovan.
Yeah. Are you going to prove to us that God is real, or are you going to prove to us specifically that the Catholic God is real?
I don't think that's the right question. There's only one God. and basically I'll just start off with saying Abraham is Catholic. And this needs
Oof.
a lot of unpacking. Yeah.
Abraham was supposedly Jewish.
That was
well, now he knows he's Catholic in heaven.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did he tell you
Okay,
this, John?
And I was
we're going to just start very
John,
John, we're going to start just very wait, I want to just start very plainly. Can you provide me logical reasoning or evidence to believe in God?
Yes. Hello?
Proceed.
What is it?
Yeah.
Okay, you cut out for a bit. After I said yes, did you guys say anything?
No, I assumed you would then expand on the yes and give us the logical reasoning or evidence to believe in God.
Of course. Now, this needs a lot of unpacking, so can I just use an analogy real quick?
I mean, I would just prefer the argument.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you register for a course called calculus, are you expected to know all calculus on the first day?
I would just like to know what can you just give us the argument in a basic P1, P2C framework? So we know what your argument is.
I know a lot about truth and logic, but I'm not formally trained in that. So basically, yes, he's real.
Okay, that's the claim.
And I was a former atheist, so I can.
That's nice.
I can go through many steps, and it needs a lot of qualifications and a lot of things to make this understandable. But I would also like to approach this without even the Bible. We don't even need the Bible. Not that the Bible's not important.
I actually agree with you because you should be able to show us that just a generic God exists first before narrowing it down to the Christian God. Sure. So yeah, sure. Let's leave the Bible out. So what is? Sure. So when Jovan was asking for P1, P2 conclusion, we're not philosophers, we're not sticklers, but like an argument, if you want to convince us of something, an argument is our statements of truth that the conclusion that must lead to the conclusion. The conclusion, like if a series of statements of truth, and if all of those are true, the conclusion is inescapable. Like that's what an argument is. So can you give us like your first premise, your first statement?
Other than God is real?
That's the conclusion.
Are you saying how to?
So that's the conclusion you just gave us. So God is real is the conclusion. So I'll write this down. Okay. C period. God is real. So we now know what we're building towards. Okay. What's your first premise? What's P1?
Why is he invisible?
That's a question.
Does it have to be a question or a statement? Okay.
Yeah. So remember what I said earlier, that each premise is a statement of truth. So questions are not statements of truth. So you said he is invisible?
Okay, no, I changed it right away. I said he is invisible. I understood what you meant. Sorry.
So capital H-E.
Let me start. If he exists, he is invisible. Something obvious.
No. Okay. You're trying to get to the conclusion that he does exist. So what lends itself to that conclusion? So you can't start with if he exists, because the conclusion is supposed to be he exists.
Actually, Jovan, I'm going to push back against what you just said there. Because he first said Trevor, or John, sorry, I'm getting my names all mixed up. John first started with a question, which wasn't a valid premise, so he got rid of it. That's great. He then moved to he is invisible, which I agree. If that was what he stuck with, that's begging the question. But he moved to the statement, if God exists, comma, he is invisible. That's actually a valid first premise, because the conditional is if God exists. So that's actually a perfectly fine first premise.
You know
if
what?
God exists, he is invisible. What's your next premise? What's your next premise?
Built on that because he wants us to have maximum freedom out of love.
So if God exists, he wants us to have maximum freedom?
out of love. In other words, he wants us to be able to choose not to believe God exists. He allows for that.
Okay, so he wants maximum freedom out of love.
Correct.
All right.
So in other words,
so you now have
even though you're atheist. Yes.
So you now have two premises that start with if God exists. He has these qualities, these attributes. Unfortunately, you haven't taken any steps to showing that God actually does exist. So do you have a premise that supports... Wait, what?
Because he's invisible. It's not going to
be. We can show that invisible.
Right yeah.
We can show that thing. We can show that invisible things exist. We can show that invisible things exist.
Science. Like X-rays. Hold on. X-rays are invisible. What I mean is invisible to the eye. So
are you basically saying God is undetectable? Are you saying God is undetectable?
No. Let me explain.
I feel like you should just debate yourself at this point, Eric.
Yeah. I'm really trying, John. I'm really trying to help you out here. The first, let's kind of rewind a little bit. Okay, the first two premises start with if God exists, then blah. If God exists, then blah. But this argument that we're trying to build here, the conclusion is God is real or God exists. So you need to have premises that support that. Do you have a premise that supports that conclusion?
I'm not sure I followed you there. So if I say God, the premise that I made initially was, if he exists, he is invisible. Now we agree that I did say he is detectable, but not detectable with scientific instruments. If that's what you meant as a question.
God is detectable, but not with scientific instruments. So that's another premise. If God exists, he is detectable, but not with scientific instruments. You're still in the same problem here. All three of your premises start with if God exists. Right. And it could be the case that God does not exist, in which case those premises don't matter. You need a premise that supports the conclusion that God exists, not just if he exists, he has this attribute. If he exists, he has that attribute. You need to show some type of true statement that directly supports the claim that God is real, God exists. Do you have any of those?
There's many of them. Would you like me to start with anything?
Give me your best one.
The best one would be, I would say, and it's not how do I explain this the best way? It's not irreducible complexity, because that's been overkilled with the mousetrap, if you guys know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's
so give me your best one though. You're jumping to one that we know is bad. Just give us a good one. Give us your best one.
The best one, I mean, okay, there's a lot, but the best one would be really complex design. Like, for example, to use a stupid analogy, a car does not build itself together. So this is an old.
So if something is complex, I'm sorry, I'm just going to cut to the chase here. If something is complex, it must be designed.
Yeah, as long as we agree on on our definitions of complexity, because complex patterns aren't complex. It has to be for example, a car has all these simultaneous parts that have to be there to complete one function, which is to drive down the road. That is
so if something is complex, it must be designed. Is what I'm hearing you saying, right?
Its complexity is a strong evidence for design. I would word it that way.
Is your God more complex or less complex than a car?
No, God's simple. And he's made of a different material, alien material.
God is simple, made of alien material.
Correct.
I thought Trevor was the most baked person we've talked to today.
I mean, he's John. You said you're a Catholic, right? So I guess you go with divine simplicity.
I'm sorry, you talking to me or Trevor? I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm mixing up. My bad. I'm mixing up the names again. Yeah, John. You said, well, okay. So you made the claim that God is simple, and you're making the claim that if something is complex, it must be designed. How does that lead us to God is real? Because the premise God is simple, that can't be used as a premise, because that begs the question. You have to start it with, if God exists, then God is simple. So saying God is simple doesn't support the conclusion, because that would just be circular. You have to assume God is real to say God is simple in order to support the conclusion that God is real.
Okay, can we just do this in just a regular discussion without all the formal logic? Or is that possible? Or do you guys?
This is not really formal. Like this is
informal.
This is pretty informal because we're not like philosophers, but this is very, very simple. We don't even think of us as like philosophers. Think of us like in a court.
Okay.
In a court hearing. Okay. You are trying to prosecute. Yeah. You're trying to prosecute the case that God is real. And the judge is saying, okay, what's your case? And then you're saying, well, if God is real, then he's invisible. And the judge is going to go, okay, that's nice. What's your case that God is real? And then you're going to say, if God exists, he wants maximum freedom for us out of love. And then the judge is going to say, okay, that's great. What's your case that God is real? So you need to show something to demonstrate or support evidence to the conclusion that God is real. A miracle would be nice. I'll throw you a bone here. A miracle would be great. Like, can you do any miracles for us in the name of this God?
That's part of it. Well,
okay, can you do any miracles? Can you do any miracles in the name of this God?
He's pretty strict on miracles. It's not like that. He wants you guys. He wants a miracle to be given to you individually because he loves each one of you. That's
where does the miracle
come in the sky?
I'm not asking for an appearance in the sky. I'm not asking for appearance in the sky. I'm asking for things like support in like the Bible, where like Jesus says, if you have the faith the size of a mustard grain, you can pray and move mountains.
Why use the Bible? Why use the Bible? It's just.
Well, you said you're a Catholic.
By human beings. Yeah, of course.
So wait, hold on. If the Bible, hold on, John, hold on.
The Bible.
Hold on, John. If you're going to say the Bible is just a bunch of words written by human beings, then we can just discard it, and that's fine. I think at the beginning we said no God. But what I'm saying is, what I was trying to get at, John.
In context,
I will let you, John. Hold on. I will let you speak here in just a moment. What I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to give you an example. You don't have to use the Bible, okay? But the Bible puts out a clear criteria from Jesus, saying that if you have the faith the size of a mustard grain, you can pray and move a mountain. That's a good test that we could do. So if the God has like criteria for tests like that, and then we engage in those tests, that would generate evidence that this God is real. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, but it's personal evidence. It's not. It's sort of like in between science and personal experience. It's not fully science, because if science can detect God, then he might as well just be in the sky.
I'm not even talking about science. I'm just talking about a simple. I'm talking about a simple test.
This is amazing.
I know. But let me just make one sentence that explains it.
Oof.
If God wanted to be detected by science, he would be visible in the sky. You go, here, come poke me. Come poke at me.
Does your God affect? Does your God affect
things? Wait.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Go, Jovan.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding John correctly. It's that God exists. We have no evidence he exists because he doesn't want us to see the evidence.
He hides.
Scientific evidence. There's a big difference between scientific evidence and personal evidence.
So God is just like the Loch Ness Monster, or like Bigfoot. If we really wanted to find Bigfoot, he'd show himself.
Those are just made up. No, because those are just made up stuff by human beings.
So, John, I'm going to lay down I'm going to lay down something you might have. I'm going to lay down something you might not have thought of, John. Does your God affect the physical world?
Yes.
Then he's testable by science.
It's similar to
straight up,
but not
straight
exactly
up.
Science.
No. If he affects science, science is the investigation of the physical world. If your God affects the physical world, then he is in the realm of science and can be tested for. Like straight up, he's in the realm of science.
Yeah. But he doesn't appear in the sky. We agree on that, correct?
I'm not asking for appearance in the sky. I'm asking for something like what Jesus said, where if you pray and something happens, that would be evidence.
Yes.
We need a test. We need to do something to show that there's actually something there, and this is not just wishful thinking, mythical stories, lore, delusion. Like,
yeah,
we have all these plausible explanations for what you're claiming, and I'm asking for just a shred of evidence to increase the probability of what you're saying is true. And so far, we haven't gotten anything.
You ask him to reveal himself to you, and you stick with it. You stay persistent. Because
how do I? So let's say I do that. Let's say I do that tonight. Let's say I put my hands together tonight, and I say, "Hey, God in heaven, please reveal yourself to me." And then I feel something inside. And I've been a Christian before. I've been. Hold on. I've been a Christian before. I've been a Christian before, and I have experienced this, like, genuinely. Okay. How do I determine
Well,
whether that's actually? Hold on, John. I'm in the middle of my question here. I've done this before. I was a Christian for a majority of my life. I was a Christian. I have felt the stirring of the Holy Spirit. I have felt God coming over me when I was having a prayer. Phrasing, sorry. But how do I differentiate that between the two options of God is real and actually doing these things versus I'm just being delusional, I'm just imagining it? What's the mechanism by which I determine which of those are true?
By being honest. Someone could lie about, and someone could
that's
be
the thing.
ignorant.
That's the thing. I'm asking what mechanism I use to determine which one's true because I am trying to be honest.
Incredible.
Saying that the honest answer is God is just reaffirming the claim. That doesn't help me at all.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? I didn't get that last part.
I asked you for the I asked you for the mechanism by which I would determine that either God is real versus I'm just hallucinating, I'm just fooling myself, I'm just imagining it. One of those. I need a mechanism by which I determine which of those is true. And you said, well, just be honest. And that doesn't help me at all.
Correct.
Asking for the mechanism is me being honest because I want to be sure that what I pick is actually the most likely to be true.
How do I know you're being honest? And again, this is just, I want to speak bluntly, but respectfully. I'm just logically speaking, how do you know the person talking to you is being honest about asking God? Like, for example, you said...
How do you know the person is being honest? Here's the thing, okay? I'm not...
For example, I just want to say one more thing about the Christianity thing. I'm not going to use you because everyone... I want to use someone like person X. Person X can say they're Christian. Does that mean they're Christian?
Yes or no, I don't know. It depends on them. But we're muddying up the question. We're muddying up the question here. Let's just say, John, for the sake of conversation, that 10-year-old Eric, when he was praying, was being honest. So you have 10-year-old Eric praying, earnestly praying, feels something. Now, 10-year-old Eric has to ask himself, is this God talking to me? Or is this just something that my mind is generating and I'm imagining it? What's the mechanism by which 10-year-old Eric, who is being honest, determines which of those is true?
You can't. If the question is there, then the mechanism just needs more time. That's
why
God created time.
If you can't, I know. I'm sorry. We're about to move on so John, hold on. We're about to move on because the queue is filling up with probably other conversations. But John, if your answer is just you don't have a way to do that, then John, what you're appealing to as evidence for God is useless, like straight up, because you can't determine whether that's actually evidence or not. You're saying it's evidence, and that's a great claim. Good for you. But that's not a justification for anybody else to accept that, or even for you. So
let's say a brick falls on my head. Oh, okay.
Actually, I got a fun story about that because that actually happened before.
If a brick falls on my head, if a brick just appears in my room out of nowhere and falls on my head, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to say it's a hallucination.
Has that actually happened to you before? A brick materialized and fell on your... Okay, we're going to move on, John.
No,
Thank you for the call.
I'm just using... Okay. All right.
John, we're going to move on. You have a good day. Goodbye.
Have a good day, guys. Bye.
So I don't have anything else to say about that. That was wild.
Was so funny.
I mean, at least it was better than our previous caller who was affirming contradictions from the get-go. At least there was an attempt at logic, hopefully there, but whatever. Let's move on. Actually, sorry. Let's maybe have a little palate cleanser here. Fun story. So I was a Jehovah's Witness, and Jehovah's Witnesses they build their own churches basically. Like they don't contract them out to when they don't have to, they'll usually source labor from the local witnesses in the area to build their kingdom halls. That was something I did for several years because I have experience as a tile setter and as a flooring guy. So I was on a few kingdom hall builds. I was at a build, and it was just a gigantic concrete slab. And they had already dropped off a big pallet of sheetrock. And what you usually do is when you have a massive building like that, like a big hall, you pour the concrete slab, and they'll deliver materials and place it in the center of the slab because they expect the framing to be built up around it and the roof. And now all the stuff like the sheetrock and other things is already inside. You don't have to worry about moving it from the outside to the inside if you just drop it on the slab. Anyway, long story short, on the slab, I was probably about 25. I was on the slab. We were all having lunch, and there was a big pile of sheetrock behind me, and I had a big tarp over to protect it from the rain. And this tarp was being held down by cinder blocks. The pile's probably about 7 feet high, cinder blocks up there. I'm sitting down with my back against this pile of sheetrock, having my lunch, and the wind is kind of like whipping that tarp kind of all day. What was happening was, as that tarp was whipping, that cinder block was there were cinder blocks up there slowly moving towards the edge. And one cinder block fell on my head while I was eating. And I didn't have a hard hat on because it's just a slab. Like there's nothing above me. So I didn't expect to wear one.
Yeah.
But anyway, the block managed to deflect off the back of my head. Like the broadside hit me at the angle at which it just basically lightly hit my head, then slid down my back, like scraped up my neck, but it wasn't like brain damage. But everyone saw what happened. They came over to help me, and they were like, at the end of it was like, oh man, Eric, the angels are protecting you, because they just watched a cinder block fall in my head. And it was just affirmation to these guys and me at the time that, angels are watching after me, because a block fell on my head and then it didn't hurt me. But I've been on plenty of Kingdom Hall builds, though. I've seen plenty of injuries. I've seen a guy like shoot a nail through his hands and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, why isn't God protecting those guys? Why did God protect me and not these other people? I know people who died on builds. But anyway, it's just really funny because it was kind of that confirmation bias, like that cherry picking, where that was a data point. That was a data point that supported angels, but then they ignore everything else. But anyway, it's a tangent.
I notice it constantly. Yeah. Well, speaking of cinder blocks and blockheads, let's bring our next guest. That's going to be Joseph, who's calling in as a theist from California to defend God being real, but also has a question for us on evidence. Joseph, you are on the line with Jovan and Eric. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing very well. How about you, Jovan and Eric? How are you guys doing?
You know, leaning slightly to the left.
Doing good.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess the question here, is God real? It seems like it's incomplete. And earlier in your show, you mentioned about presenting evidence in a courtroom. One thing that a courtroom has is that both parties have some agreement based on what evidence is being presented and the verbiage at question for that proposition. So this is where I called in trying to understand, before even discussing God exists, the terminology in and of itself, what kind of evidence in a courtroom, so to speak, using your figurative language, would you accept as evidence for God? Because if you don't accept certain evidence, at least I know what boundary I could use. Hopefully that makes sense.
I would want specifically, if we're talking about belief in a God, I would want compelling external evidence for that belief. And what I mean by that is I would want evidence that's independent of one's own personal feelings, intuitions, or religious experiences. And I would want that evidence to be publicly accessible. I would want it to either be historical or empirical. So things that are like a repeated, independently verified miracle that's under specific controlled conditions, or archaeological evidence that that confirms specific divinity claims, or predictive prophecies that have that are pointed and come true. So not just vague, like someone can't just say the sun will rise tomorrow, right? Like pointed, specific predictive prophecies, or an observable phenomenon of the universe that's only explanation is God rather than some naturalistic explanation.
My answer to that, Joseph, it probably is very much in alignment with Jovan. I'll try to maybe like kind of wrap it up into like something really like tight and succinct for you. Good evidence leads to very, very, very few conclusions to explain the evidence. Preferably one. I would like to see evidence that narrows the possible conclusions down to one. Bad evidence leads to many conclusions, while good evidence leads to very few, preferably one conclusion. So if you have something you can bring to me that can only lead to a God, that would be compelling for me.
That could only lead to a God. So something that is absolute.
I wouldn't say absolute. I would be like evidence that shows that like the God conclusion is inescapable. For instance,
Okay.
like an example of bad evidence was our previous call with John, where he says, well, you pray and you feel. And like, okay, if I do pray and I do feel, that's explained by many things. It can be explained by God, sure, but it can be explained by me being delusional, hallucinating, lying to myself, having false memories. It could be the bad pizza I just ate. Like praying and feeling leads to multiple conclusions. And if it leads
Yeah,
to multiple
I see what.
conclusions, I'm gonna choose the most plausible conclusion, which is going to be in the natural, because the supernatural is implausible.
Okay, I see where you're going. So
Yeah.
let me try to convince you here. So would you agree with the proposition that some things exist dependently, that they themselves do not contain within themselves the full reason for their existence? Would that be something that you would consider?
I guess, sure. Like I don't have what's in me to exist. I depend on my parents to exist. So sure.
Okay, so then if we follow that logic, like you said earlier, which premises lead to the conclusion, then I think a complete explanation of a dependent reality can't consist only of further dependent things. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Yeah, say it one more time, because I feel like you snuck something in there.
I
Go ahead.
want to write that. I want to write it down so that I know I'm not mistaking the stuff you're saying.
Go ahead, say it again, Joseph.
A complete explanation of dependent reality cannot consist only of further dependent things.
How are you defining dependent in this scenario?
Well, what would you consider dependent? And then I could kind of work with that.
Well, you used. I don't know how you're using dependent in your.
Yeah, I gave an example
in your claim.
I gave an example of me being dependent.
Think of a borrowed book. We'll say that Alice borrows a book from, say, Bob. Eventually, someone is actually going to own that book. If everyone only borrowed it, then no one has the authority to kind of lend it in the first place. Does that kind of make sense? Would that be a good example?
I don't think so. I'm a little concerned, kind of rewind a little bit. I'm a little concerned that your statement, you said dependent reality. So it feels like you're already kind of begging the question there by calling reality itself
to
dependent.
me, it just feels like we're going back to the contingent argument.
Feels that way, yeah.
I guess you could say it does fall under the contingent argument, but I'm slowly kind of trying to clarify on the verbiage of the word. That way it doesn't really. That way I'm very specific in what I'm saying. So that's why I gave the
did the contingent argument have like? Did some famous YouTuber I don't know about make a video on it recently that it has become every theist's main argument? Like in the last month, I feel like it has become the prime argument.
Well, I mean, I think it depends the contingency argument that you're going to use. So, I mean, what I'm trying to present here in our discussion is that there are some things that we've already agreed to the premise that some things do exist dependently. They don't actually contain themselves the full reason for their existence. So if you grant me the premise, it would logically follow, kind of like the example I gave you in regards to the borrowed book, that there's a chain that connects to it. Therefore, it'll lead to God at the very end. And that's what I'm trying to convey to you guys and see if
can you prove to us that everything would have to be dependent?
No, because I said some things. Everything. I said some things exist dependently, not everything.
Okay. What's an example? What would be an example of something that doesn't exist dependently?
Huh?
What would be an example of something that doesn't exist dependently?
Well, I mean, if we take the borrowed analogy of the book, it would be something that is not borrowed.
Okay. Why not say that's just the universe? Like the chain of dependency goes back to just the universe, and the universe is sufficient to explain that first lender of the book.
Well, to be truthful and fair in our conversation, I guess it would lead us both back to presumptions, because we could never know what started in the beginning, if that makes sense, whether it's an atheist or whether he is. So then now it depends on the argument, which argument would make better sense, because we're beginning with presumptions. So yeah.
So I generally agree with you there, but there's a symmetry breaker here though, because like, okay, so like we're both in court and we're both arguing for this, and you're trying to argue for the existence of a God being the source of that chain of dependencies, and me being like the defending attorney would say, well, no, I don't think that's established. The universe itself is itself sufficient to explain that. There's a symmetry breaker here that gives me the advantage in this argument, and that is I can demonstrate that the universe exists. In order for God to be considered to be the explanation for the universe, the God should be demonstrated to exist and not just argued for.
Well, I'm sure, because we're both starting with presumptions at that point. Yes.
Well, is it a presumption that, hold on, is it a presumption that the universe exists? I don't think so. We're in it. We have evidence of it.
Then we would have to see what you mean by beginning to exist. We would have to define different types of beginnings. I didn't say
begins to exist. I don't think the universe began to exist.
Real quick before I lose it, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
If we talk about, say, beginning to exist, there are so many different types of beginning to exist. There's emergent beginnings, there's structural beginnings, there is finite causal beginnings. So there's quite a bit of those beginnings, but it doesn't necessarily follow that a finite beginning, for example, or a causal beginning would explain all beginnings. So it's almost as if it's fractured at that point.
Right. Why do we have reason to think that the universe began to exist?
Why do we have reason to think?
Yeah, because I'm guessing as a theist, you think that the universe began to exist, and the explanation for that is God. The universe beginning to exist is dependent on God, and I think that's just an assumption. I don't think the universe began to exist. I don't have a reason to think that.
Yeah, it's both a presumption. It's a presumption that has to be. That's why when I first made my premise that some things exist dependently, they don't necessarily contain within themselves the full reason of their existence.
Okay, why would this apply to the universe? Like I agree. I agree. Some things fit that description. I'm one of them. But why do we apply that to the universe? What's the reason to do that?
And to be fair, you can apply it to the universe, but this is the best explanation I could give. So hopefully that.
All right. So if that's the best explanation you can give, and then the best thing that I can do is say, hey, you know what? I don't have any reason to believe that. I think it might be the case that the universe is just necessary on its own, and it's the start of this dependency chain, and I can demonstrate the universe exists. Like, probability wise, why would you go with the God explanation when we have what's needed to show that the universe being the beginning of this causal chain is more plausible?
Well, that's a fair question. The reason why I go into the God is, well, we know that things are ordered and organized in particular ways, and order doesn't just come from nothing. It violates the logic.
Why not?
Of necessity.
No,
you can't get.
Hold on. Yeah, you just went off the rails there, Joseph. I don't think there's a logic of necessity when it comes to order.
No, go ahead.
In fact, I can give you an example of order spontaneously happening without any intervention, without any agent.
Yeah. So I understand randomness can eventually get order, but not in a very sequential.
Not even that. Not even that. Like maybe that's the case.
Right.
But Joseph, have you ever heard of a thing called geologic sorting?
Geological sorting? No.
Yeah, geological sorting. So geological sorting is a natural phenomenon that occurs that will very, very rapidly sort sediment. And all you need is a body of water and then something like a landslide. You know, in a landslide, you have sediment of all kinds of shapes and sizes. You have large rocks and small rocks and pebbles, and you have dust, and you have like minuscule pieces of sediment. And what you can do is, and you can go onto YouTube right now and watch this. Just look up geologic sorting example or demonstration, and you can see it in real time. All you need is a body of water. You throw a shit ton of debris into it, and as that debris sinks down to the bottom, the large rocks sink fast. And as the rocks get smaller, they sink slower and slower until finally that fine dust is sinking the slowest. And instantaneously, you have sorting. You go from coarse to fine sediment within seconds. This happens in nature. No agent has to be involved behind it. This can just happen.
Right. And I know that there are certain explanations of random events that do give an explanation of order, but it's not in a very statistically consistent manner. And the geology shows, what did you call it? Sorting? Geology sorting?
Yep, geologic sorting. You can actually, like I said, you can go on YouTube and watch it real time, and it's an example of order coming out of what supposedly is chaos without any agency involved.
Right. But I don't see how that actually disproves whether a God exists or not.
It demonstrates that order can happen on its own and no God is required.
Right. Only demonstrates order.
No agent. I'm sorry, rather no agent is required. So if we can have supposedly chaotic and random events occur and we get some type of order out of it, and that can be shown to happen at least once, then we can't say looking back like, oh well, the universe is ordered and how can it be ordered without an agent? So like that throws all that into question, because now we have an example of that happening.
Can I ask a clarifying question of you, Joseph?
Sure, go right ahead.
Do you believe the universe was created with a mind?
You're right back.
I do believe that there is consciousness, but what that means, I do not know. So that, just to be fair,
what I'm asking specifically is, do you think that a mind created the universe? Like, do you think that the universe was created with intention?
Well, but now we're getting deep into philosophy, so it's not so simple in that sense. So because we do see evidence of, like you said, geological sorting, right? So that means there must be evidence out there that there is some sorting that occurs on its own. So there is chaos that is apparent, for example, but there also is evidence that there is order that's apparent. And then there's also evidence that there is free will that is apparent, that we will something into existence. So we have three categories. But do you believe God had intention when he created the universe? Like, do you believe God had specific intention that he wanted the universe to be one specific way at the creation? As a theist, I would say that yes, God had.
Okay, and what is our evidence of this intention?
The only evidence I could give is what I just explained right now. That's the best argument I got.
Okay, I don't think that argument is compelling.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I don't think there's anything compelling in there. My only counter would be like, have you ever seen a duck's penis?
A what?
Have you ever seen a duck's penis before?
I came back at a bad time.
What does that have to do with anything?
I don't think anything that created the universe with intention would have created a duck's penis. It's terrifying. It's truly the stuff of nightmares.
That's your own personal opinion.
Look at it and tell me I'm wrong.
That's my argument there, and you guys can do with it what you will.
Well, how does any of this get you to theism?
So, I mean, we could break down the premises if you want.
Well, you're a Christian, right?
Yeah. So no, I'm not a Christian. So some things exist.
What religion are you?
Right. We made an agreement that at least there are some things that exist dependently. They don't actually contain within themselves the full reason of their existence. So that would be my first premise, which we agreed. My second premise, and you guys could break it down, would be A complete a complete explanation of dependent reality cannot consist only of further dependent things. Therefore, reality ultimately depends on something non-dependent.
Yeah.
So then that would be my third premise. And then my fourth premise would be a non-dependent foundation of reality would be necessary, uncaused, and not merely one physical object among others. And then my conclusion after that would be that it's broadly what theism means by God. That would be that would be my argument there.
I forgot. I didn't keep track of the exact premise numbers, but we would just simply reject the premise that that reality itself is dependent. We don't think you have a good reason to assert that. So if you can show that reality is somehow dependent, then that would be interesting, but I don't think you can.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I appreciate the call.
Okay. Well, thank you, Joseph. That was fun. So yeah, you have a good day.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
I sat down, I put in my headphones, and the first thing I heard was duck penis. Thank you, Jovan. I think you're muted. You're muted, buddy.
Oh, my bad. It's my favorite defense against the universe has intention behind it.
Well, they are horrifying.
It's the duck penis defense.
It's like, what are you gonna get together with the girl duck and make more duck? You're gonna open up a bottle of wine with that thing. I don't know. It's terrifying, right?
Yeah, no, and they consistently rape female ducks because their vaginas aren't built to take the duck's penis.
There's a lot of rape in the animal kingdom, unfortunately.
But that's just the intention, guys.
God
Speaking of intention,
it's a beautiful
Alex.
It's beautiful God's creation. Dolphins and ducks and oh my God.
Alex from Ohio is calling to tell us that God is real. So I can't wait. Hopefully Alex has a better thing. So Alex, theist from Ohio, you're on the line with Jovan and Eric. How are you doing today?
How you guys doing today?
You know, couldn't be better.
Doing fine. Well, maybe not so much after the duck penis thing, but I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there.
That's why I couldn't be doing better.
I got to Google that when I'm done with this.
I wouldn't.
At your own peril, my friend.
But I would say I believe in God. What gives me the belief in God is that we're just too. I don't. Do you believe in like the Big Bang Theory? Like, you know, we're goop slapped together and just became.
I believe
everything.
that the universe existed in a different state. There was a singularity in this state that expanded the observable universe. I don't know what the universe looked like or was like prior to that state.
Okay, so how
it's kind
we came
of
to be.
The way you phrased it was kind of crude, but and you're talking about two different things there. You're talking about the Big Bang, the origins of the expansion of our universe, and then you jump to like abiogenesis, which is the start of life on Earth. But just for the sake of argument, yes, I think the Big Bang Theory is our best current explanation for how the universe began to expand. Not how the universe began, but how it began to expand. And I do think that there is some abiogenesis event that turned basically non-life into life, whether it be instantaneous or a gradual process. Something happened there. It's kind of like a placeholder, an event, and I think that happened too. Yes.
I believe that's just so hard for me to believe. Just by the simple fact that
I agree, it can be hard.
How perfect we are as human beings, all the way down to our fingerprints. We got our fingerprints, you know, just by design. Then we have tigers, we have goldfish,
so
all these little things. Like you're telling me all this was just a little bit of goop here.
I would say, like, arguably, we're some of the least perfect creatures on the planet, homie.
Yeah,
we can't even hold our heads up on our own for the first, like, what is it?
Alex, when you say perfect, what do you mean by perfect? Because, like, what do you mean by perfect? Because I would probably strongly disagree with what your idea of perfect is.
I wouldn't say that. Well, I wouldn't say perfect, but by
All right.
design, like just by
So
down
so
to our DNA.
what about it like
So
indicates design?
I
What about
believe
it?
that we would have.
What
I'm
about
sorry,
it
you can
indicates
go.
design? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to talk over you. I'm just like, I don't want you to like go off to something else while I'm trying to like drill into what you're saying currently.
Okay.
What about us indicates design?
Fingerprints, eye color,
Fingerprints and eye
red
color.
hair, blonde hair, just everything that makes
How does that indicate design?
Humans.
How does that indicate design?
I think there was thought put into us, right, by God.
Why think that?
I believe that we. It's easier for me to believe that there is somebody that
it's easier
designed us, created everything, versus a little bit of stardust here, a little bit of lava juice here, a little bit of piss here, and then
Alex,
thousands of years, millions of years, we just
Alex, we may have Alex, you and I might have differing values here, because I don't gravitate towards explanations because they're easy. I try to gravitate towards explanations because they're true and can be shown to be true. Which would you prefer? Do you prefer explanations that are easy or explanations that are true?
Well, what's easy about God?
Hold on. Hold on. Lock in on the question I just asked you. What do you prefer, Alex? Do you prefer easy explanations or do you prefer true explanations?
I believe true explanations.
Okay. So you just, before I asked you that question, you said, well, it's just the easier explanation just to think it's created. But now you just told us that you actually prefer truth over ease. So that's not a good reason to believe.
Because I believe God is, not God, but God's son. Jesus, you said historical facts. Jesus was his son.
Well, now we're bringing in Jesus. Hold on. Now we're like we just like expanded the scope of this discussion to like Jesus. Let's bring it back into just why is God the explanation for blue eyes and red hair and fingerprints? Like, why do you say that? And you said, I asked that earlier, and you said it was easier to say that. And let's get away from the easy part. What can you give to us that shows that that's actually the case?
That God created that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what
what can you give us? Yeah, what can you give us that shows God created it?
I can't, but I don't believe that the science can. I don't believe that because.
Have you looked into science at all, Alex?
Yeah. I've been over it. I've seen it.
Okay, so science shows us some stuff at least, right? So science is already bringing more to the table than you have with what you just said. So why like put yourself in my position here. Put yourself in my position.
Okay.
I see science giving us at least some explanations for what's happening, and then I have another person saying, "Well, I look at these things and it just feels like a God is there, and it's the easy answer to go for. Which one should I choose?" If I want to be truthful, which one would I choose?
Well, just because, God reveals some of it to you doesn't mean you can, you can understand it, but it gets to a point where science doesn't understand it. That gives us a license to just plaster God into those gaps. Yeah, I would say so. I wouldn't say it's better than saying, well, we'll figure it out when we figure it out.
So do you prefer any explanation over no
God than there is with science being right?
Wait, say that again.
There's more proof in history of a God, spiritual, whatever you want to call it.
Proof in history.
Whatever. There's more history on that.
What?
The spiritual
proof in history
being
for
right
that? What are we?
Than science being right.
Where?
Setting aside the kind of the sloppiness of that statement, what proof in history are you talking about? Yeah.
Okay.
What proof in history are you talking about?
Religion has been around for what, thousands of years, correct?
Uh-huh.
How long has science been around?
Natural philosophy has been around for a long time. That turned into science, but does the age? So hold on. If you're trying to compare the ages between religion and science, how does that at all indicate what's the better tool to use and what's more true? How does that at all indicate it?
Well, then we can break it down to your court case debate. You know, if you had to prove something in court.
Correct? Okay. So how does the age of an institution at all correlate with how true its statements are?
Well, would you a wisdom? You get wisdom in age, right? You know more the longer you've been around.
I know some very dumb old people, so I'm going to say no.
For the most part.
What is happening today?
I don't know. I mean, Alex, if you want to appeal to the age of an institution, and that somehow indicates that what it claims is more true, then we should all be Hindu. Like, get rid of Christianity, get rid of Islam, get rid of Judaism. We should all be Hindu.
Yeah,
Alex, which God is real?
Like you said,
which God is real?
Yeah, I believe in. The God I believe in is just the higher power above.
So you're not a Christian? Are you a Christian?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm a little bit of everything. I don't know what they call that, but I just believe in right.
All right, just a general theist, but I mean, Alex, can a religion be the oldest in the world and it still be false?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. So appealing to its age doesn't all help you build a case that what the religion is saying is true or that God exists.
Because like I kind of confuse people when I say God, like okay, well, Christian,
That's
God,
fine.
this guy, well, I just believe there's a higher power that created everything.
We understand that's what you believe, but we're asking if you can like show it or prove it or give us evidence. And so far,
I haven't given us
anything that we can use.
We can go back historically. Religion has been around thousands of years.
We know
That's
that.
Pretty good starting point, right?
No. You just admitted just earlier that a religion can be the oldest in the world and still be false. So saying that religion's been around longer than science doesn't at all tell you whether what religion says is more true. Like I thought we already established this.
Yeah, but you're what? What am I going against? What, a science? If we're in a courtroom, so I'm trying to grade religion versus science.
Mm-hmm. And keep in mind that both keep in mind too, like religion and science, it's not like some type of like exclusive, mutually exclusive thing. There are many scientists who are religious. There are many religious people who accept science. You were talking about like, okay, well, where do you think everything came from? The Big Bang and abiogenesis. Alex, just a generic God, okay? Like, I know you say you aren't adhering to a religion, so let's just take this, just a generic theist God. Is it impossible for this theist God to have used the Big Bang to start the universe, to have used abiogenesis to start life? Is it impossible for this God to do this?
No, he would have, because that would be his design. Okay,
so defeating those things doesn't at all help your case because your God could have used them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's
so attacking
you're agreeing that.
So attacking science doesn't at all help you. Attacking science doesn't at all help you with your God claim.
Well, I kind of have to attack science to make the science believer, the science person, believe that God created science. So you can understand the religion.
Man created science, and science is entirely a man-made thing because science is a process that we invented. But what I'm trying to get at is that, like, Alex, by some miracle, you could in this call right now, completely defeat science, and we just have to, like, Jovan and I would have to say, "Wow, Alex is right. Let's throw science into the dumpster." That doesn't add an ounce to your God. That doesn't add an ounce to your God claim. None.
I don't say throw science in a dump. I say
I know. I was painting an extreme. I was painting an extreme example to show you how the route you're taking in this conversation doesn't at all help you with your God claim. Like like I said, we could throw science in the dumpster right now. For the sake of this call, Jovan and I can say we don't believe in science at all, and we would still have the question of why do you think your God is real and why does it exist? It doesn't at all help your case until you give us evidence of your God.
The evidence of my God is everything around. Like even the evidence.
I don't see that's I don't see how that leads to a God. I think what you're engaging in, what you're engaging in here, Alex. What you're engaging here in is called. Hold on. Oh, whoa, that's a huge left turn, Alex. What you're engaging in here is called the argument from incredulity. You're basically looking at everything and going, "Hey, you know what? I can't fathom how this came about naturally, so it must have had a designer." That's the summation of what you're trying to bring to us here. And we know through our experiences, and we know through court cases, and we know through investigation, that your intuition is not a reliable way to determine truth, especially for these large questions of like, where did the universe come from? Our intuition is not good in these situations. We have much better tools at our disposal, namely science and investigation and logic and philosophy to do that. Intuition really has no place at the table in this conversation.
Okay. So where do you really? Okay, let's just take this lesson real quick. Where do you believe like your moral compass comes from? Like when something that's just because it. Like, okay, what do you believe happens?
Mostly from like an evolutionary intuition.
Yeah. What Jovan just said, I think our moral intuitions come from our evolutionary development as a species, as a social species.
So, so when we die, let me ask you, when we die, what do you think happens?
That's another left turn. Like,
this is just a general question I'm asking you.
Right.
Just like what do you guys believe when we pass? What's your belief?
As clumsy as this terminology is that I'm about to use, it's pretty general. I think generally what I feel like I'm going to return to the state I was in before I was born.
And I think I think it's going to be nothing. I think there will be nothing. I think there is no being, right? Nothing happens to me when I die. I'm just ceased to exist completely.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to where I was. And like I said, I don't care what's harsh or not harsh. I'm not here to feel good. I'm here to seek truth. And like I said, my statement was clumsy because before I was born, I didn't exist. I didn't come from anywhere. So when I die, when I say I go back to that state, that's the thing though. Okay. If I did exist before I was born and I can't remember, I have no justification to believe that I was born. It is just simply speculation.
Right. Okay.
But I think I'm just going to be. It's just going to be like what it was before I was born. I just won't exist.
I just kind of believe that like man, like you know, I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe when it's over, it's just over because like I feel like if everyone like some people would take that to that extreme, like okay, well, hey, that's it.
Well, Alex,
when it's all over,
I'm gonna lay down a.
You know,
Alex, hold on. I'm gonna lay down a harsh truth on you. The same way with intuitions, what you want, how you feel about it, has no bearing on what's actually true. And and Alex, if you want to choose your beliefs off of what makes you feel good, go right ahead. That's your prerogative. But that's not the truth seeking, my friend.
I also I don't really want to do the thing where it's like, well, are we just believing in this because what comes after is scary? Yeah, potentially what comes after is absolutely scary, but that's not enough for me to believe something that like foundationally I don't see any evidence for.
Yeah. Honestly, from my point of view, dying is scary. The process of dying, that's scary. Being dead, I don't think it's so scary. Like being dead is no problem.
Process,
Dying, that sucks.
Definitely agree with you that.
Yeah.
Dying sucks. Being dead doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't want to get old.
But anyway, Alex, I think like I said, if we're seeking our answers based on intuition and on feelings and what we prefer and we don't prefer, I don't think We're up on like two completely different wavelengths here, and I don't think we're going to come in alignment on anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I'm just glad. I just wanted to have this conversation. That's all. Like,
All right.
But
let me ask you.
Talking to you guys, like,
let me ask you this, Alex. Do you think? I'm trying to think if I asked you this already before, because if this you're like conversation number 6 today, so it's all starting to like blur together. What would you prefer? Like, what would you prefer to do with your life? Would you prefer to go about choosing things based on feeling, or do you want to go about choosing things because you can actually see that they're true or not?
Well,
what's your preference?
I do a little bit of both. I'd say a little bit of both. Like, you know, I believe in science. You know,
why both?
But also, I believe that.
Do you think one's more reliable than the other? Like, is one more reliable than the other?
Like, I think they fall in the same area. I wouldn't say one's more reliable than the other. Because,
so
like,
if they're both
like saying, like,
go ahead.
You can finish. I'm sorry. No.
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but so okay. I asked you. I should probably phrase a little bit better. We have two methods to go about determining what's true and false on the table here. One is feeling and intuition, and the other one is evidence-based support for a conclusion. I'll now that I'm changing a little bit, I have to re-ask you so I don't put words in your mouth. But okay, so you have two options. So you have a question in front of you, and you want to find the answer to that question. And you have two methods in front of you. One is feelings and intuition, and the other one is investigation and evidence-based argumentation. Which do you prefer for the question?
I prefer evidence and logic because that's, you know.
So why on
the way I usually go towards?
Okay, good. And I think that's a great position to be at. Why do you sometimes discard that for the feelings and the intuition?
I do that with religion. I say based on because I like I said, it just goes so far back, and like regardless of what religion it is, it's always, whether it's Hindu, you know, Muslim, Christian, it's always been, even to the Greeks, you know, it doesn't matter. There's always been a God for every era.
Yeah, but the question was, you know, going back to the question, the question was, why do you sometimes put down argument and investigation and go for feelings? Why do you do that?
I also want to touch on what he just said. Like, you know, this idea that there's always been a God for every era. Do you ever wonder why we haven't had any real like new gods in a while?
No, I haven't. That's a great question. I've not thought of that.
I think it's because we're learning more about the universe. We're not as afraid. Yeah. We've scientifically advanced way more than we used to be. We don't think that the sun is like, or that the earth revolves around the sun revolves around the earth anymore, right? Like, as we learn stuff, we stop having a need for religion.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they say science is the new God. You know what? Yeah, that's what they say now. Science is the new God. That's the God of this era, is what they say now. It's science. So, but yeah, I see what you're saying, Ultimate. Yeah, you're right. There hasn't been a new God in a while, and you know what? That's a pretty good. Yeah.
But
man,
Alex, what I encourage
talking to you guys though.
Yeah, and what I encourage you to do, Alex, as you think about this later on, ask yourself, why are you discarding your most reliable tool for one that's inferior on certain questions, especially like the big questions? Why are you doing that? That's a question you need to ask.
I was looking at.
Yeah, think about that. Why do you do that? And whether that's a good thing to do or not. Like I said earlier, and I'll wrap this up and we'll let you go. But like I said earlier, that I used to be in a construction. I did flooring and other things. Let's say I have a task I do all the time, like I need to like drill holes, and I have two drills. I have one that drills a hole very effectively and very reliably every single time. And then I have a other drill that when I turn it on, it heats up, it burns my hand, it smokes, it fucks up the hole. Why would I ever use that drill when I have the reliable drill that does the job every time? And you have the same dilemma too, or the same question when you're trying to tackle these big questions of life. When it comes to like the mundane things in life, 99% of the time, you're using your reliable tool of investigation and argumentation and evidence. But when it comes to like critical, huge questions, for some reason, you're just discarding that reliable tool and going for the inferior tool of intuition and feelings. And just ask yourself, why am I doing that? Like, if you want to say, well, I just want to feel good, then okay, that's your answer. But then you can't say to yourself, well, I seek truth, because you want to feel good. So I don't know, maybe think about that this evening and ponder that. Not to be like,
yeah, I will. Good. I would kind of say I just
try not to be
like,
I'm trying not to lecture you, but yeah.
Maybe I just want to see. Maybe I do want to just see everybody when I pass away. I don't know. You know,
yeah.
It might. It's just gonna make me feel a little bit better on my dying day, maybe.
I mean, yeah, sure,
So.
but that is what religion uses to get their hooks into you and to sell you lies. I mean, same thing with like I mean, in our day and age, we have scammers and phone scammers, and they're getting more and more sophisticated and tricking people and giving up their money and their personal information and stuff. Like this, these are tricks as old as religion. Religion monopolizes. Religion monopolizes. Yeah, religion monopolizes.
Pastors are making basketball player money.
Yeah, and religion monopolizes these insecurities in us. They exploits these weaknesses in us to get their hooks into us and sell us lies. And we need to be careful about that, because Alex, for the biggest questions, if you're using your unreliable tool, then you can't have any confidence that what you think is true. And you may be exploited by some religious person.
You know.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not a big church. Like, you know, I don't believe in like the churches and doing all that. Like, I'm more or less, I believe in a God that makes, you know, I believe in my God, whether it's the Christian God, Hindu, any of them. You know, but I'm not the go to church every Sunday guy or none of that, you know. But I kind of put I take some of their beliefs and, you know, instill the good beliefs into my children and things like that, you know. But I'm not saying, hey, let's get up and you got to be ready to church and give 20% of your check to no, fuck that.
Yeah, and I can respect that, because we're going to wrap up, Alex, but I will let you go. But thank you so much for the call, and we do appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You guys take care, man. I'll definitely get your next show too. Subscribing and everything. Take care.
My next show, yeah, thanks a lot. My next show is actually in about 3 hours, right? Because I'm doing tonight's Sunday show.
My next show is in 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, you gotta, yeah. And you got a kid to take care of before that happens. But
yeah, I'm gonna probably slide out in like 8 minutes from here so I can do some parenting duties, and then I'll come back.
I enjoyed that call. I enjoyed that call with Alex. Alex seems like he's a genuine guy and everything. I think he's good.
Yeah, but for people like Alex, it's just sort of like, you know, I was raised religious. I believe in religion, and it's hard for me to break out of that shell.
Yeah.
And that's.
But anyway, that was a fine conversation. But all right, well, we got just a few minutes left before we have to take our break. We have one caller left in the queue. Jovan, you're driving. It's your call if you want to take the call or not.
I mean, might as well. This is a pretty easy, you know.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it's going to be too much for us. So Lucy, an agnostic from, what is MO? Is that Missouri, Montana?
No, Montana's NT.
Louisiana.
Missouri.
Lucy from Louisiana.
Missouri.
Is it Missouri?
Hi.
I don't know. Say hi, Lucy. Welcome. You're on the line with Jovan and Eric. How are you doing today?
A little nervous, but doing all right. You guys doing okay?
Yeah. No, we're doing real well.
Yeah, doing fine. And yeah, no need to be nervous. Just don't defend atrocities or anything like that, like a Christian would. And I think we'll have a good conversation.
No, not at all. No, I just have massive social anxiety, so that's all I'm grappling with over here.
I feel you. I'm an introvert and I have social anxiety. One of the reasons I do this is because it's pushing me out of my circle of comfort. So I totally feel you there. It's difficult.
I'm an extrovert, and y'all need to get over it.
You ever see that? You ever seen that comic? I know it's great when somebody describes a comic strip to you, but there's a clam and there's an otter, and the otter says, "I'm an extrovert," and the clam says, "Well, I'm an introvert," and then the otter just looks at the clam and then just raises a rock about to like break it open. That's what it feels like sometimes with extroverts. But
yeah, both my siblings are both extroverts. I'm like, y'all are too much sometimes. I love you so much, but go away.
My little brother is a social butterfly. He has like, you can name a city and he'll name me like 3 friends in that city that he can go visit. And I'm lucky if I can name all my friends on 2 hands because I'm so much of an introvert.
I feel that.
Anyway, so Lucy, it says here that you're an agnostic, and you got the question about how it's kind of worded weird here in the panel. So I'll let you like clarify. But it says how to accept lack of objective meaning if everything is blank.
Natural.
Oh, okay. Oh, I can expand the field out. Okay. How to accept a lack of objective meaning if everything is natural. So you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I'm deconstructing currently from my previous religion. And, you know, like with most, the explanation that I was given for atrocities is that trials are proof of God's care, which is, that in and of itself is a whole mess of, but so I don't believe in that religion anymore. But the point that I keep getting stuck on is if there isn't some higher power that is orchestrating things, then like there has to be a why. You know what I mean? There has to be a why for some of the things that I've gone through, that other people have gone through, because it's horrible, and I just don't really understand why. God was the answer I was given for so long.
Yeah. And God is a very comforting answer. It's like, oh, don't worry. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Something powerful has your back. And it is a very comforting notion. I dealt with the same thing when I was deconverting. Kind of my hang up when I was deconverting was, because I'm a huge nature guy. Like I love sunsets. I love mountains, forests, lakes. Like nature is my jam. And my entire life, whenever I saw something beautiful in nature, I would utter a little prayer and say, hey, thank you, God, for this gift. And when I deconverted, all of a sudden, that God was gone. And it felt like there was emptiness behind everything now. I looked at things and I was like, wow, this feels like something is now lacking. There's like a void there that it was difficult for me to kind of overcome. And I have my ways that I got around that because I started learning science and I started becoming more familiar with the like amazing processes that went into this. And it actually turned my experience with nature into something far more richer than anything religion offered me. Because religion's just God, you know, to put it kind of cynically, God magicked it into existence and gave it to you. Whereas in science, it is this elaborate process that went into creating these things. You got to build, Jovan?
Well, I was gonna say, as like, because I've never deconstructed, right? Like I was always atheist. There was no point in my time where I was religious, like whatsoever. I've never held a belief in God. And if even if like I had said I did, it was mostly because other people did. So I was like, well, I guess I have to say this. This is just what people say. But like as soon as I could formulate the ideas for myself, I was like, oh yeah, no, this is clearly not real.
Yeah.
I don't know. I find there's beauty in the fact that everything's going to end eventually. So what I do is like super important because it doesn't go on forever. If I existed forever, what I do at any given point, not important in the slightest bit.
To quote,
because I can always just do something else later.
To quote the legendary prophet and philosopher Vision from the Avengers movie, a flower is not beautiful because it lasts. Time is not precious because you have an infinite amount of it. It's precious because you have a very little amount of it, and that's what increases its value. But anyway, I'm sorry, Jovan, do you need to get going to take care of things for the next stream?
I'm gonna slide out. Thank you for having me on the Sunday show, everybody. Come catch me and Jimmy Snow. We'll be live in like 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So come catch me over there. Yeah. I'm gonna do a fun thing in case Arden doesn't take my camera off. So I'm gonna do something fun here.
Yeah, thank you, Jovan. Hey, everyone in the chat. thumbs up the stream if you had a good time here with me and Jovan. Lucy, we're also on the line. I'm just kind of transitioning out again.
I know. I got you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to think we're closing up shop quite yet. But yeah,
good.
thumbs up in the chat, folks, and everyone say thank you to Jovan for not only doing this stream, but having only 10 minutes with his kid before he starts the next stream. So yeah, thank you, John. But yeah, Lucy, yeah, kind of getting back to that, I feel you with what you're saying there, because when you kind of realize that like religion doesn't really give you real answers, and in fact, probably those answers are most likely lies, there is an emptiness there, because that assurance, that support system you had is all of a sudden missing. It's kind of like, I mean, as cliche as calling religion a crutch, it's like taking a crutch away from somebody who doesn't feel like they can walk on their own quite yet. So it's yeah, it's a tough situation to be in.
Yeah, I was raised Christian Science, so I am pretty well aware that everything that I was told is so far ridiculous, and it's been really, really hard stepping into the adult world and like not knowing how to do, like, making doctor's appointments have been so hard, and like remembering to take any medication at any point in time, whether it's like pain meds or anything to help me throughout my days. I just don't even think about it, because it's just not something that I was allowed to do.
Yeah, you're not wired to operate in that way. I'm the same way. I was an ex-Jehovah's Witness. I'm the same way with birthdays and holidays. Like, if you ask me what my oldest brother's birthday is, I can't tell you, because we didn't celebrate birthdays growing up. And I am just not wired to think about birthdays day to day. Like, whose birthday is it? Should I buy a gift? Like, it just doesn't happen in my brain, because I was trained not to do that. So yeah, like I said, I'm feeling you there. How long have you been deconstructing? Like, when did you kind of like step out of Christian Science and go, you know what, I don't think this is true? Like, how much time has passed since then?
So tiny backstory. When I was 19, I found out that half of my kidney had died, and that there had been symptoms of it for the last 4 years. And I think my faith in Christian Science kind of died when I found that out, because I probably had about like 6 or 7 bouts of kidney infections that were left untreated because I was told that it was all in my head. And so like I had to have half my kidney taken out, and I think waking up from that surgery was kind of like waking up outside of Christian Science.
Yeah. So it says here you're 25. So I guess it's been like a 6-year process then, since you kind of like started feeling that stirring in your mind, like, okay, wait, something's not right here, and you started exiting. So okay, so 6 years. I guess when did it was like a gradual start, and then all of a sudden like it kicked up like recently, where you're having like much bigger questions about, you know, like you mentioned here, objective meaning and such. Or are these just things that have always been on your mind?
Well, so my husband is very, very anti-theist, like very anti-theist. He's also an anarchist, so he's a good time.
Wow.
But
edgy.
Yeah, he's my favorite person in the world, but that's beside the point. I was kind of happy to not really think about it at all. You know what I mean? Like, I was just kind of like, okay, so this has changed, but it doesn't really change who I am as a person. Like, I'm still going to try to do my best to like be loving, be caring, be empathetic to people, because I know what it is to hurt, and I don't want to hurt others. So it wasn't really on my, there were so many other things happening that I was like, it's just on the back burner. But my husband,
I know that feeling too. Yeah, I know that feeling. Where you only have, your brain only has a certain amount of like bandwidth and threads open to do things. Yeah. And if more pressing matters are taking up those threads, then those questions kind of like, okay, later. And then finally you start thinking about it. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah. You know how, I don't know if you haven't, if it's the same for others, but for my iPhone, if there's an inactive tab, like if I'm not on it for, I think it's like 21 days, it'll like turn it into an inactive tab. And so it's like on a different, it's like that. I only have so much space for all the other tabs, and then the rest are inactive over there somewhere.
Yeah.
But
that's a good analogy.
they're still saved. They're just not in the forefront of anything.
Yeah. And that's totally fine. You have limited capacity, and it's totally fine to be like that. Like, deal with your immediate problems now. Worry about these other things a little later when you got time. Yeah.
Yeah. But he actually was, my husband was big on watching you guys, and he showed me 2 different videos. One had Forrest Valkyant in it, and the other one had Jimmy Snow in it. I don't remember what they were, but it kind of started my process of thinking about what I actually believed in. And so in the last 3 months, I've just kind of been like on a crash course of, okay, well, where am I actually in this?
Yep. Yeah. That tends to be like kind of the trajectory, especially after you were born or raised in a religion. Just taking that breather again now, and just taking that breather of like, okay, just let's not worry about it for a while. Let's just enjoy this new normal and get used to it. And then at some point, you'll start to want to like explore these questions. It's a very, very common kind of process that people go through when it comes to deconversion or deconstruction rather. But I guess probably the best thing I can tell you, if you're looking for like, okay, what are your next steps? And quite honestly, what you've been doing so far is actually really good. A lot of cases, you just need more time. Because every time you go out in the world, you interact, you do a little bit of thinking, you go to sleep, your brain internalizes it and puts it into long-term storage and does like its subconscious processing of all the things you've taken in. You're going to wake up tomorrow as a slightly newer person, and the things that you learned today will be integrated into that person tomorrow. And you may have questions now, like for instance, you're talking about, the lack of objective meaning. And we can address that here specifically in a moment. We have only a few minutes left, though. I think I have to end the stream before 2:00 hits, so the other stream can start. But giving yourself patience and time and just absorbing and processing, because tomorrow you might wake up and you might have like this like epiphany moment, or you might all of a sudden like have some clarity in some of these questions that you're dealing with. And it's good to analyze it now, but it's not, don't like agonize over it, and don't get too hung up on these things now. Explore them, sleep on it, explore it some more, sleep on it. And eventually you're going to wake up one day and go, oh, I'm experiencing some clarity on this matter. Same thing like going back to with me and nature, like I felt that void in nature. I didn't see a God there anymore. And that really hurt my appreciation of nature for a while. But then I started learning about, okay, the scientific process. I learned more about evolution and the way that the universe formed and the way that the solar system formed. And once I started seeing all those things, and my brain started integrating those into my worldview or into my explanation of why things are here, it became easier and easier going forward. And it's just a natural, gradual process that you can't really like rush. Which is, it sounds to me that you're doing fine so far. Like you're on the right path. You should keep on doing what you're doing and give it more time and patience. But anyway, to address your, go ahead. You want to respond to that? Go ahead.
I do. Yeah. I actually want to make sure that I bring up a point that was made before Jovan left, because I really would like to get clarification on that, because I have thought about, like, I've had people tell me that life is precious because it's so short, but my thought back is always, okay, but if it's so short, then why does it matter? Like, why, like, nothing would change if I wasn't here tomorrow. You know what I mean? And I think that
I wouldn't say that.
Thought that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. That's that sticking point of life is so short that there's not really anything that I do that's going to make any kind of impact anywhere. So what's the point of being here? And before I had that, like, God has a plan for you, to be that like, well, okay, so there's a plan for me. And now I'm like, oh, okay, well, there probably isn't a plan for me. What am I doing here? I feel like I'm kind of stumbling through everything. Yeah.
That's something that is commonly grappled with in people in your position. And I think I also had the same like kind of existential crisis of like, okay, well, yeah, ultimately billions and millions of years from now, when the heat death of the universe likely occurs, or the big crunch is occurring, and it's just going to erase everything that's happened. Like, yeah, in the ultimate sense, nihilism is probably true. It's probably nothing really matters. But the thing is, though, you and I are in the moment now. It matters now. It's the same way, like when you go to your favorite restaurant and you're having your favorite meal, that restaurant's going to close one day. You're never going to have that meal again. But that shouldn't affect your ability to enjoy the meal in the moment, because we are always perpetually in the moment. Like, we are not in the future when the nihilism problem becomes like kind of a reality. We're here and we're now. And the fact that life is so finite, our moments are so limited, it just increases the value of that. And it's something that can be hard to accept because religion primes us to not be satisfied with that answer. But I think you and I can both agree that at least some religions, those are lies. Those are lies to comfort people who are having these dilemmas. And it's much better to grapple with the dilemma for what it is and accept the realistic answer to the question than it is to give us like this comforting lie. But yeah, the present is what's important. We're here and now. We're always perpetually in the now, and now is valuable. So after these two streams, I'm gonna go to my favorite restaurant tonight. So it's like you gotta take comfort in that, because that's what we have, and we don't have anything else other than that. At least we don't have good reason to think we have anything else other than that, because we don't have the evidence for it. But anyway, we're at 2:00. I really hope that was at least helpful.
That was really helpful. Thank you so much. Truly, thank you.
No problem, Lucy. And this was a nice cherry on top of this stream tonight, because this was a very pleasant conversation. And like I said, you're not alone. The fact that you're reaching out and talking to me about it, and there's people in the audience that are probably like, I've seen several comments in the live stream chat, like, yeah, that's describing me. I felt that. Like, this is a very, very common thing. So you're not alone. Your conversation that you engaged in with me and Jovan is not only hopefully helpful to you, helpful to me, helpful to Jovan, but also everyone in the audience. This kind of community is why these shows are important, because we need this support, because religion was a false support, and now we need something genuine, and this here is genuine. So, but Lucy, you have a good day. All right.
You too.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Catch you later. Yep. Catch you later.
Bye-bye.
Okay, well, I am here and I am alone and I'm driving the ship, and there's Arden. She's bringing out that hook. She's going to grab me and pull me off the stage. So I don't hear any music. Maybe only the stream can hear the music, but whatever. Folks, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. Go on over and check out the other stream. What is it? Cus I Wanna, calling it now.
Calling it now.
It's calling it now. Yeah. So go check out Calling It Now, and then come back here later on tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which I think it's like 7 p.m. Central Time, that fake time zone. Come back and catch me and allegedly Ian, and we'll have a whole nother stream and hopefully some more calls. So